How is it going, everybody? I am Donut. This is Captain America Civil War, and of course, this is a Black Lives Matter, All Cops Are Bastards, and Trans Rights supporting channel. If you don't like that, you can fuck right off. Now, let's do a little bit of a pre-discussion before we just jump right into the reaction. It has been a while since my last movie reaction. If you are new to the channel, you can get the full-length reaction for this movie in the description for free. I'm reacting to all of the MCU in order, including the shows, so it will be quite a while before our next movie as well. I'm not sure exactly when that will be. I just know it's going to be a while, probably. So, what do I don't know anything about Civil War. I am assuming it is going to be a civil war between the powered individuals and the non-powered individuals. And we have touched a little bit on it throughout the MCU and throughout the movies, like Romanoff going into Congress and all that. We have always been touching on this sort of thing, but now is where it's really coming to a head. Specifically, the Inhumans are causing a lot of this to come to a head. I don't think we're going to get any Inhumans in Civil War. They might bring it up, but they haven't really been touched on as a thing in the movies. So I don't really think they're going to bring that up, but clearly the Inhumans are like the main thing that is causing this all to come to a head right now. Where do I think we're going to end off on this? Like, we're going to have this big civil war. It's going to be there's going to be a villain as well. There's going to be three little factions to this, essentially. There's going to be there's going to be Captain America and whoever is with him, whether that also be Romanoff again. I'm not sure if we're going to get Agent 13 again. This could have a lot to do with Bucky. Probably going to be having to do a lot with Bucky and Sam this movie. But for our villain, I don't know exactly what we could do or anything. Nothing immediately comes to mind, but there probably will be some third-party villain I can't even, begin to give a guess for, that will be doing stuff at the same time while Cap is having to deal with, and assumingly maybe some of the other Avengers too. I'm not sure who else. Maybe Tony will be in this movie. That would be interesting. I'm not sure if they would do that, but he's the only other person I could think of that would be fitting for this sort of story here. I don't know, because this feels like something that should be an Avengers movie, but I don't know why it's a Captain America movie, and I think that's my main confusion. I don't know why this is a Captain America movie, and so knowing that makes it hard to give predictions for. But in the end, I think, we're not really going to go anywhere. I think nothing really is fundamentally going to change. There might be some small things that change with powered individuals, but in the grand scheme of things, I think this is going to be a nothing happens movie. It's going to be the Joe Biden of movies. Nothing will fundamentally change. Ideally, there is plenty of things that I would love to come out of this, but they're all stuff that I know would never happen because we don't even have it in our own world right now. So why would Disney want to put it in the MCU? But there's so much they could do with supers in a universe like this that would be so fascinating after a post-Civil War thing. Giving them universal healthcare for stuff like Terrigenesis and transitioning from human to inhuman, cybernetic enhancements, aid for, helping nullify and seal away the unwanted powers, and just most importantly, therapy for all of them. Universal basic income, so that way we don't have to have this huge gap between the heroes like the Avengers and the street level heroes, which is a big problem because the more heroic ones are the ones on the street, not the Avengers. But, so being able to have UBI and cutting the Avengers government funding and being able to have just the heroes on the street be doing it for altruistic reasons, like they're doing it for altruistic reasons, and it's going to definitely reduce the amount of crime and just super crime in general. Having voting rights for all would definitely as well reduce the amount of super crime we have, because especially if you are just jailing supers and everything, and then they're not going to feel represented, but they have these powers, they're going to use them. It'd be nice to have some sort of touching on like powered hate speech and stuff. I'm very against the police and prisons entirely, so I am not like in favor of making hate speech a jailable offense or a fine even or anything like that. I'm not for that at all, but I do think it should be like, making it a legal defense to you know, have non-fatal self-defense in response to hate speech. Powered hate speech, you know, I was saying to, you know, make them a protected category as well. And in general, I know it's not going to happen, but I would have loved to seen, you know, the abolishment of S.H.I.E.L.D., replacing S.H.I.E.L.D. specifically with a non-combative, just strictly scientist-run organization and actually slingshotting alien artifacts into the sun. You know, having actual, like, full transparency would be nice. There's plenty of stuff that would be great to see being done in a super series and how they would handle that with supers. There's so much fascinating stuff I think they could do there, but I don't think the MCU is going to do that. Now, they could extremely surprise me and, you know, not to that degree, but smaller versions of some of the stuff I just talked about might happen. I'm not expecting it to. So, yeah, I guess that's just what I wanted to say. That is my ideal, but that is not what I expect to get out of this. I really don't expect there to be... I can't imagine what the outcome will be besides just like, okay, I guess we won't just immediately try and kill you if you have powers. I guess that's really the only outcome I think I'm expecting out of this is, okay, I guess the government won't try and kill you if you have powers. But that's all I have to say for the before we get into this. Let's actually get into it now. Do I think Agent 13 is going to come back? Probably. I don't know what the hell her point is, but she's probably going to come back. I think realistically, I think it would be cool if Tony's in this movie, but I think realistically it will just be Agent 13, Captain America, and I don't know if we're going to get Romanoff again. I don't think so. No Romanoff. Just Captain, just Sam, Bucky, and Agent 13. Let's get into it. Alright, we are here for the discussion for Civil War. If you are new, I'm here with my fiance.
Hello.
Thermite.
It's me.
You have seen all of the MCU movies.
Just the movies.
As well as...
some of the TV shows, like the Netflix series up until, you know, right before Iron Man, or Iron Fist.
Well, you're basically watching everything along with me, except for S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
So that is why you were here for the discussion. You have the notes for this. You were the one who took all of the notes, and you were going to be, you know, asking me questions or, you know, asking my opinion about certain, like, facts about the movie or something like that. As opposed to, when I take my notes, especially for the movies, I kind of just talk about a lot of what I already talked about in the reaction, as opposed to additional stuff people would want me to talk about. So that's why we're doing it, you know, this way. We've been trying to do this stuff more when you're on the discussions.
Yeah.
Let's start with the Sokovia Accords.
Yes, please.
Sokovia Accords being specific, like, okay, I thought this was going to be, I did think something like the Sokovia Accords was going to come up, but I thought it was going to be for all powered individuals.
Right.
But this movie is very specifically just about the Avengers minus Thor. I mean, maybe minus Hulk too, but I mean, I don't consider the Hulk to be a part of the Avengers anymore, so, you know, I wouldn't really count the Hulk not being here as not one of the Avengers not being here. He chose to leave the Avengers. In the same way where I wouldn't have thought it would be weird to not have Clint in this movie because they said that he retired.
Right.
I wouldn't have said, well, it's not an Avengers movie because Clint isn't here if he actually was retired.
Yeah, whereas Thor just went to Asgard, but it was very clear, like, you know, he's coming back.
Yeah, Thor is still a part of it. I mean, I don't know.
True.
Well, but, so, who knows what's going on with Thor? I have no idea. It felt so insanely weird not having Thor here in this movie. Because I think of all the characters in this movie, the character that is most relevant to this movie is Thor. Thor and Vision, I feel like, are the two most relevant characters to this movie because they're not humans.
Okay.
Whereas everybody else, like, you know, why the fuck does Tony have to sign the goddamn Sokovia Accords? He's a dude with a suit!
Because the Sokovia Accords are very specifically in the movie Avengers focused.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Which,
like,
I do want to say this right now because I'm gonna slip up. The comic book Civil War was much more about powered individuals.
Yeah, I assume so. Like, based off the name Civil War.
Yeah.
This is so insane that they just call this movie Civil War. I mean, I get it because it's based off the comic books, but the fact that it's named Civil War is so weird if you just take it as this movie.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing Civil War-y about it, unless you're saying it's Civil War of the Avengers, which is... That's a weird way to say that, because what context has that ever been used in a group setting? Like, what has there ever been a civil war of an organization? That's not a thing. It's just just splitting.
Sure. I mean, what about the paintball episodes in Community? It's a civil war in the school.
No, it's not.
It's a civil war in the school.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
How is that a civil war in school? It's not between two sides.
That is.
No, it's not. What? The two sides are me versus everybody else.
It's main cast versus everyone. Usually.
I mean, after they've teamed up, like, they were separate by themselves. The Civil War was not a bunch of minorities coming together to form the Avengers. Like, anyway.
Sure.
So I do think that the name Civil War really influenced what I expected going into this movie.
Right.
And yeah, I want to talk about it a little bit later, maybe, but do you think we should talk about it first, the comic book stuff?
Let's talk about it afterwards.
I will say, by the way, I didn't even notice it really on a first watch, but going back through it, the shot with Iron Man, like, doing his blast on the Captain America shield, I have seen that panel.
Yeah.
I know that's, like, an extremely famous panel. So, yeah.
Yeah, like, they really slowed that scene down, too. Like, they really wanted you to see, like, look, it's the panel.
Yeah, the only other thing I would put on that level is probably, like, of comic stuff that I know of, in terms of, like, I've seen the panel, because it's that iconic, is that one, Spider-Man doing something of, like, holding open a drain pipe or something, where water's coming down, I don't know.
Sure.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I don't know what is going on, but him, like, in water, holding up something,
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. And, Wolverine getting, like, his spine ripped out or something like that. I can't remember what it was, but something like that. Those three things are probably, like, the three most iconic things that I have seen. I don't know if those would be the three most iconic scenes in the comic book stuff, but in terms of someone who is so vastly outside the cultural, like, phenomenon, all this stuff, that's what I've seen.
Yeah, and I do think the first two are very iconic. Like, I 100%, if they did not have Cap and Iron Man in that pose in this movie, people would have rioted.
Like,
more so than every other enormous change they made.
Whereas, like, an event in comics that I've heard of, I know nothing about it, but just stuff I've heard about, I would say Secret War, or is it Secret War or Secret Wars or something like that?
Secret Wars.
Is probably the thing I am most, or have heard the most.
Okay.
In terms of an event in a comic. Maybe Crisis on Infinite Earths, that's DC.
Yeah.
But, like, in terms of just comic book events, those two were, like, the two that I hear brought up often.
Makes sense.
Whereas, like, Civil War, I don't think I had heard about at all until... My original prediction for Civil War was, is Cap going to go back in time and fight the Civil War?
I just think I remember being at your house, like, a year or two ago, and you, like, hearing the name Civil War and going, what? But how would he even do that?
Yeah, I fully 100% believed it was going to be Cap is going back in time to do the Civil War. Unbelievable. But yeah, so do you want to get into the comic stuff, or should we save that for later?
I think we should save it for the end, because I do think the comic stuff's also, like, it would color my discussion more than yours.
Sure.
Because then I'd be referring back to it and stuff.
Good point. So,
Yeah.
We'll touch on that stuff at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So, the Sokovia Accords, the ones who actually did sign them, for sure, Tony and Rhodes, it is implied that Vision, that the rest of them were going to.
Yeah.
But I don't think we were shown or told explicitly. I assume they did, but I just want to state that, like, the only ones that we were explicitly told did, I believe, were Tony and Rhodes.
Yeah, Black Widow was there during the, like, when they were getting the Accords ratified. But I don't know if we saw her sign them.
Yeah, because she's also kind of a little bit against it, too.
Which I find really fascinating, because, like, the previous movie, and they bring this up multiple times in this movie, 1 year ago, she basically told all of America to go suck her ass.
Yeah.
Like, she released all of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s documents. She said, screw y'all, this is what I'm doing. I know I'm already a traitor to the state, but I'm going to be more of a traitor.
Yeah, it was a real, like, it is very interesting, because it is like, I imagine it's as if Edward Snowden just had, like, so much MMA training that he could just kick anyone's ass to try to come do anything.
Yeah.
Like, that is the feeling of, she had this, like, I'm going to do all this, and you're not going to do anything about it because you need me.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're just a person. You're just a person with training.
Yeah, like, the thing I find fascinating is that in Winter Soldier, her struggle was knowing that she left the Soviets because she knew they were wrong, and she wanted to do some good in the world. And then she learns, oh, I've been working for Hydra this whole time. Shit.
Yeah.
So to then have her decide that the best thing to do would be to serve under a third master.
It's real weird.
Yeah.
So I do like that she kind of
Yeah, she has flip-flop.
Yeah, she kind of flip-flops, but then at the end, you know, she's like, gotta do what I gotta do, man. Like,
Yeah.
she's the kind of person who's always going to need an organization.
Mm-hmm.
She can't function by herself because
Yeah.
she is just a person. In the same way that Tony needs the Sokovia Accords. Tony
Yeah.
cannot function as a individual superhero. And almost everybody who signed the Accords cannot function as an individual superhero.
Yeah, and I do think, like, it made sense in the moment, like, after the events of the Avengers, and then, you know, even more so after S.H.I.E.L.D. fell, like, Tony has been the one who...
Hell.
Tony has been the one who is, you know, he's the head man of the Avengers. He's the one who makes the Avengers work. The Avengers are a private organization under his commands.
Yeah.
And that is way too much to be putting on him as a human being. Like, he's not that kind of person.
And it was always iffy. It was always weird to me. I liked it because it didn't make them under the government.
Yeah.
And, you know, I thought that Tony had everyone's best interests in mind. But, the more we're getting into it, like, when I mean that he had everybody's best interest in mind, more of like he was a lesser evil that I was willing to accept of like the only way the Avengers work is if they have money, right? Like, you know, that's a problem with most of the street level people is they can't, it's hard to really fight crime when you also have to have a job.
Yeah.
And so Tony being able to pay some of them, it doesn't even seem like he paid all of them. So I don't even know really what was going on with the Avengers, to be fair. It was kind of really weird.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was always a little bit weird. And I'm glad that we really touched on it now, and we kind of separated the Avengers between Tony's Avengers and Cap's Avengers. Yeah. And, you know, that is really, like, the Cap's Avengers are a lot more interesting because they are the more super, you know, generally the more super ones that are still humans. And they are the ones who are more human inside as well. Like, they're human outside and inside, you know. Whereas, like, Thor, I'm interested to see where he's going to stand on everything that. But, like, also, when I say, like, you know, everybody on Tony's side can't really be individual superheroes, like, Vision is hard to be an individual superhero because he isn't, like, a human. He's not representing anybody.
Yeah.
So it's a very, like, who's going to call for Vision? You know, who's going to say, I want Vision to come help me?
Yeah. Plus, I mean, he is not Jarvis, but he is on some level based on Jarvis.
Sure, yeah.
So, in the same way that, like, that Ultron was messed up because he was primarily, like, focused on protecting the world through Tony's eyes, I get why Vision's immediate first thought would be, I'm going to side with what Tony is saying right now.
Yeah, and also, I didn't think about it, but that actually is, you know, fits a lot into Vision being the one who kind of, jumps the gun in a way. Like he really quickly goes to a dangerous move.
Yeah.
Like he is not someone who's very, you know, he tries to make it non-lethal, but he will get angry and jump to a lethal attack. Which through Agent Carter we have seen that Jarvis is willing to kill people. He is very willing to, you know, do the bad thing for the betterment of the situation.
Right.
Like, sure, this person might not need to die. There might be a possibility to change them, but they have killed so many people already that I'm going to kill them.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that is really fitting with Vision there. You know, even if he's not fully Jarvis, it's got a bit of that as well.
Yeah. And he is fascinating in how, like, the one reason why everyone trusts him is because he can lift Thor's hammer. But as we know from the original Thor, like, lifting the hammer does not mean you are a perfect person or even that like a good guy. Like, Thor was a good guy with problems when he couldn't lift the hammer, and when he could lift the hammer, he's still a good guy with problems.
Yeah, it is very much you are worthy. Like, and I don't think that means necessarily you are the one who can wield, like, you are the true ruler.
Right.
But, like, you have the possibility to become the true, like, you can change enough to be the true ruler.
Yeah, and I think there's also a level of, like, Asgardian, like, the Asgardian view of the world there.
Yeah, sure. That's a good point.
Yeah, like, Thor was willing to, as, you know, as a person without any real powers in that moment, he was willing to still fight the Destroyer.
Yeah.
there is a level of nobility there where I can see why Vision would be the only one to share that, because he's not human, because he has this like a different outlook on the worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying there.
Yeah.
Not sure if I have much to expand upon, but
Sure.
I do like that.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. But yeah, so I think it's very obvious, but I will state, I am definitely on Captain America's shield, or Captain America's Avengers side of things.
Mm-hmm.
I am Team Cap.
Sure.
I assume you are as well.
I'm also on Team Cap.
Yeah.
Like, I see a lot of the arguments for Tony's side, and I mean, the big reason why this is not an Avengers movie is, well, A, because they want another Cap movie, but B, because they wanted to make it clear Cap's side is correct. Like, this is a moral debate.
Yeah.
But ultimately, Cap is supposed to be the one in the right.
That's why I said, I didn't really think I needed to state that. I
Yeah.
think it's pretty obvious that Cap is the correct one here.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I when I say I side with mainly Cap and Scott.
Okay.
The rest of them are, there's varying degrees of how much I trust them.
Mm.
Like, Sam, he's a good dude, but he told Tony where the hell
Yeah.
Steve was, and that was a dumb thing to do. So it's like, I like all of them and I'm on their side, but there's others I trust more than others.
Yeah, and Sam was more okay to go along with the Accords than Cap was, and even then, I don't think he, I don't think he's morally against the Accords at the very end as much as he is on Cap's side.
Yeah.
Like, they're friends, he likes him. Like, if you're siding with Captain America, that's probably a good decision.
I mean, and they've both been in the army. They both
Yeah.
know that they don't want to have to oversee a council again.
Right.
I mean, that was Cap's whole thing in First Avenger, was doing exactly this,
Yeah.
going against the, written laws that he was able to do.
Yeah, I mean, that is the fundamental core of Captain America. That, as Agent 13 said during the eulogy, when the world tells you you gotta move, you plant yourself down, you look him in the eye, and you say, no, you move. And,
I'm not sure how I feel about that, but it's a weird line.
It was also an interesting poll, because that is one of the few things that was taken directly from the comics. But in the comics, it was being told, it was Cap himself saying it to Spider-Man. Spider-Man was anti registration, and Cap was trying to explain why he was on why was he on this side. If he is the moral authority, then why is he fighting the governments?
Yeah.
His ultimate thought was basically freedom over being commanded. If you should do what you believe is right, no matter what.
Even if it's signing these things that will give you a master.
Basically, yeah. Well, the main thing is also
because to be fair, he also kind of says that at the end too, of I think everybody should do what they think is right,
Yeah.
and that's all we should do. But then he's saying that in a Tony, you should be doing this.
Yeah, Cap's fundamental idea is that you can't you should be free to do what you want to do, and if you sign the Accords, you are no longer free to do what you want to do. So it is two competing freedoms.
Yeah.
For some people, like Tony, he cannot be trusted to do things completely by himself. His freedom would be signing the Accords, or at the very least having someone who can tell him, hey, you're being kind of crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely am very much on the individualist freedom, aspect, but I am not in a everybody should do what they want to do, sort of thing.
Yeah. It's also a situation where I feel as characters, I personally align more with Tony than with Cap in terms of I like to have a clear set of rules that say, in this situation, this is good. In this situation, this is bad. Whereas Cap is the kind of person who would say, you can't do that. You have to look at every situation individually, and sometimes you're going to be in conflict with yourself. Sometimes you're going to...
That's definitely where I'm from, too.
Sometimes you're going to be a hypocrite, and that's fine, because sometimes you can't apply the same thing to every situation.
Yeah. I'm fully on that side of things.
I agree with it, but it bothers me as a human being, because I'm but there should be one way.
But yeah, I think it's the same thing with philosophy and morality and everything. You just cannot assign it. I think there are universal rights, but I don't think there are universal wrongs.
Sure.
I had gotten onto that on one of my Death Note videos where was talking about that in the comments like, yeah, there's plenty of things I can define as universal rights, and whether that be a human right or whether that be a right thing to do,
Right.
a lot of times those are tied together. But it's hard. It was hard. I couldn't think of a single universal wrong,
Right.
like at all.
There's always a loophole. There's always one situation where it's like, well,
Yes.
actually, you could do it then.
Yeah, and there's some people who'll be like, well, killing is always wrong. Doesn't matter. And I'm definitely not one of those people. You know, I don't think there's anything that is always morally wrong. I don't think anything could be. So, also, on Tony's, team, like, not even, the teams are split like 5 and 5
Yeah.
in the fight. And his team, like, 3 people only signed because T'Challa and Parker are not going to sign the Accords because they're not Avengers.
Right. It's
I mean, T'Challa probably now will be, and probably now will sign them, but in terms of right now, like, at the end of the movie, he was not an Avenger, and so...
even then, he might not be able to because he's a king.
He's also, or never mind, I was going to say he's also not US-based, but I forgot that was a lot of what this is fixing, because we have Wanda now. It was also crazy. I didn't even think that, like, man, Wanda is our first non-US Avenger that we have.
Yeah.
This is crazy. I didn't even think about, like, how wild that was.
I also find it pretty dark that, like, she's been in the U.S. for a year, and they have done nothing to, like, even try to get her citizenship.
Yeah.
Like, she is a prisoner to Tony. And
Pretty much.
And I cannot tell whether that's just an oversight, like, did he just slip his mind? Or did he, on some level, want her to, to be in the situation where she can't, leave?
Yeah. God damn, man. It's one of those things where it's like, it never even crosses my mind.
Right,
Like, the immigration sort of shit never even crosses my mind, especially in, like, media.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a weird thing to think about as a so weird. But, yeah, like, I'm glad they really brought that up this movie. They didn't do much with it, but I'm glad they at least brought it up.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it is interesting now that we have only 2 people in all the Avengers who are not US based, but they are I mean, we have one of them on Tony's side now and one of them on Cap's side, so it doesn't even really count. We really only have one again, and that's assuming he signs it.
Right. It's
But anyway, the Wanda of this movie. Let's talk about Wanda actually.
Sure.
Because Wanda of this movie was like weird to me in how they wrote her. I don't know if it was the way they cut the movie or something. Like maybe there was other scenes or something, but the way that she was acting inside the house, where it's like she was completely 100% like totally fine with being in the house and like thought that it was the good thing.
Yeah.
And then Clint shows up and says, "Cap needs your help. I'm here to break you out." And she wasn't a no, let me go because Cap needs my help. It was a no, let me go because this is a very bad thing that you're doing, keeping me in this house locked away.
I would say that she's not 100% on board. Like when
Maybe not 100%.
Like when she realizes the Vision is keeping her there, she does like have a visible reaction of, "Wait, so I'm a prisoner?"
Yes, but she
Like,
knew she was a prisoner before then. Like Vision wasn't keeping her, but she was fine with Tony keeping her.
Yeah.
It was more that was a distrust. That was more of a like,
I mean, I think part of it is also that she was watching the news, she was feeling bad. I don't think it crossed her mind that she was really a prisoner until she wanted to just leave for a bit. Because it's when Vision stops her, like, she has this very clear reaction of, like, she didn't realize that she wouldn't be able to leave.
I suppose. Maybe I'm just looking at the scene wrong. It felt very jarring to me, but
Okay.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know, I guess I just didn't like the whole Clint plot, this thing.
Sure, I would also agree, it's weird.
It felt very not, like, it felt bad of Cap to do.
Yeah.
It felt like a shitty thing. Like, why did Cap get Clint? Why couldn't he have just gone himself?
Like, we do know from one scene that he does feel guilty for, Quicksilver dying. Like when he when he shows up and brings her in, he does tell Cap specifically, I also owe her, I owe her for, before.
Yeah, but that's Cap went to him originally.
Yeah,
Cap had to have gone to him to say, "Hey, can you go get her?" But yeah, it's not as fucked up. It's nowhere near as fucked up, but it's on the same like genre as Tony going to get Peter, going to get I'm trying to call him Parker because we already have a Peter in this area.
Yeah, you could probably just go with Spider-Man.
Sure. I like using the person names as opposed to the superhero
Sure.
names. Especially when I'm talking about them as a person as opposed to as
Okay.
a superhero.
Yeah, fair enough then. Sure.
But yeah.
Incidentally, I'm kind of concerned for his family. Because, as we know, his family lives off the grid because Nick set this up, and he did it completely outside of S.H.I.E.L.D'S jurisdiction. S.H.I.E.L.D. knew nothing about it.
Yeah.
But now that Hawkeye's been captured by the government, like, what happens to his family?
Yeah, like, do they... Like, yeah, does Tony be like, well, here's where his family lives. I went there.
Yeah.
Because, like, he's out of jail now, assuming he's back with his family and everything, and hopefully they moved away to another place. Also, like, is Clint going to be in Cap's shield? I hope not. I hope he retires again.
Yeah.
Because, he's got a family. Let him have his family.
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't be out here fighting the good fight if you got a family.
Yeah, the argument in Ultron from his wife was, they need a heart. But even then, I feel like Tony's Avengers need a heart more than Cap's Avengers.
Yeah, Cap's Avengers don't need a heart, and Tony's Avengers, they're going to crush that heart.
Yeah. So he shouldn't really be on either side for the purpose of giving them a heart.
Yeah, I mean, when they throw the heart in prison, probably, they don't need it. They don't need it. But, yeah, I would say, so now, every movie, my favorite characters change so much.
Oh, yeah.
At this point, I don't think that Tony can even be up there, because I don't think that Tony is as interesting as he once was. I feel like they're making him too villainous.
Okay.
Like, I don't think there is enough moral grayness to make Tony as interesting as he used to be. Because I think there used to be the question of, like, Tony's done so much horrible shit, but he is also a big proponent of why the Avengers are even possible in the first place.
Right.
And everything. But, yeah, now, with the Cap's Avengers and everything, it's like, now that we have the Cap's Avengers, Tony's become a lot less interesting. Also, Howard has become so much more interesting over Agent Carter that it's kind of overshadowing Tony.
Right.
Because, like, and that's even with Howard being even more villainous than Tony is, but he's just so much more comically villainous.
Sure.
Whereas, like, Tony is a very realistic villainous. And, yeah, so I feel like Tony has gone down a little bit because of this movie, but honestly, the more I think about it, primarily just because of Agent Carter. Agent Carter has really made his dad so much more interesting to me than he is.
It seems like he managed to recreate the Super Soldier Serum. Or, not exactly, but he sure had 5 bags of Super Soldier Serum that he was going to deliver to the government.
Oh, is that what that was? Like, I kind of just assumed that was like a generic, half Super Soldier Serum. But, I mean, was that that wasn't the super...
It wasn't the thing that Cap has is part serum and part the Vita Rays that they blasted into him.
Yeah.
None of the, the things that people have tried to make that involve this, recreating the serum involve the Vita Rays.
Well, there has to be some other thing as well. Whatever the Erskine was, doing, because he was the main reason why they can't do it anymore.
Yeah. But
I don't remember exactly what it was.
I mean, I think it is the
But I also know, because in Agent Carter, I mean, again, this is the movies,
Sure.
whatever, but in Agent Carter, they do bring up that he had Cap's blood, in
Right.
vials, and he kept giving that to the U.S. government, and the U.S. government kept fucking it up, and then he had, 1 vial left, and then they get rid of that. So, it's interesting why he would be doing that if he also had and I guess he could have made it when he was much, much older.
Yeah.
But,
because, this was, in the 90s at this point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, it's interesting. It's a weird thing to do. But, yeah. I mean, unsurprised. Howard Stark, extremely fucked up, probably one of the most fucked up person on the planet, so.
So, do you have any idea what they might have been doing with it? Because, Howard and his wife were going on vacation. Before they went, he was going to drive to a military base and give them the serum.
I assume it was going to be hey, when I gave you 10 of the Captain America blood vials and you fucked them all up? Here's some more. Fuck this up too. That's pretty much what I assume went down, or was going to go down.
because we do see those going into the other Winter Soldiers later on, and I mean, we don't know if it worked. We know they went crazy, but that could also just be, you know, the Russians messing it up.
It's so wild to me, by the way, that they used blue blood bags for the super soldier serum, which, I mean, you know, I've been saying like the Hydra's like blue for so long, which it's like so much clearer now that they're red, but like I always thought of Hydras being blue because of all their blue weapons and the Tesseract and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it is interesting that they use blue blood bags because that is immediately something I would associate with being Inhuman, especially with what is going on with the Inhumans in S.H.I.E.L.D. right now. And so I also have to assume, by the way, because Inhumans not come up in Civil War, I'm going to assume they're not going to come up in the movies at all.
Okay.
I think that's a fair game to guess at this point. I thought the Inhumans were going to be the next big thing in the universe, but seems like they're only going to be coming up in S.H.I.E.L.D. They really seem to be they're everywhere in the world. You know your brother Tom, he's probably also an Inhuman, but it doesn't seem to be the case.
At the very, very end of your reaction, you brought up the idea that, like, in order to understand Captain America the way the movies want you to understand him, you gotta just accept that S.H.I.E.L.D. is back in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but anytime they come up, Cap is just not looking. Cap has not noticed.
I'm understanding more and more the S.H.I.E.L.D. might not be canon to the MCU, you know, stance. Like, I get it. The movies, you know, there's no, like, inherent references, but nothing about the Netflix shows or even like Agent Carter really it doesn't really impact the movies in a like plotty, like in a, you know, this doesn't make sense way, or like a why does Cap not know that S.H.I.E.L.D. is out there? The most, like, some random person in the government's like, yeah, I'm not a fucking idiot. Of course I know S.H.I.E.L.D. exists. You can tell me that S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't exist as much as you want, but I'm not stupid. It's the classic thing of everybody in my comments telling me, I don't know why you keep saying that this person would obviously know that S.H.I.E.L.D. exists when people don't know that S.H.I.E.L.D. exists. When in the show, everybody says, I'm not an idiot, of course I know S.H.I.E.L.D. exists. But, yeah, so, you know, I get the argument that, like, yeah, post-season 2, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. might not be canon to the MCU at all. It's starting to really seem that way.
Yeah, because everything else is, you know, at the very least, like, the shows I've seen thus far are all, like, small scale enough that if something does happen, like, it would make sense that the Avengers, you know, being so high up, they wouldn't notice.
Yeah. And, yeah, and I feel like they do good jobs of, like, subtly referencing a little bit of where they are in the universe based off, like, terms being used in the universe rather than, like, referencing an event or something. It's just the words that they use are, you know, tell you when it takes place, as opposed to, like, S.H.I.E.L.D., where there's a lot of times where it's like, wait, why is this happening here? But... yeah, so that is something to take note of. And like, yeah, as I said, going forward, I'm gonna really have to, for the movies, pretend that S.H.I.E.L.D. does not exist, both as an organization and as a show. Like, it just doesn't work otherwise. And yeah, I think with that in mind, my favorite characters are now Steve as number 1, I think. Maybe... I'm struggling between Steve and Scott. I actually don't know which one I like more.
Okay.
I might honestly put Scott as number 1. Especially, like, rewatching the fight and everything.
Yeah.
Scott is the only one in the whole fight who, like, purposely does not use any lethal attacks and does not want to hurt anybody.
Right. It's...
like, he is just there to try and give them a chance to slip into the hangar and get on the Quinjet and everything like that. Like, everything he does is so, you know... oh, sorry, I'm doing this. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Like, it really isn't until he goes big that, you know, where he actually starts trying to hurt people.
Yeah.
And that is a, you know, he is just, like, swinging his limbs so slowly. Like, it is because he's so big, but, you know, it's probably not going to hurt anybody if he punches somebody in that form. It's so slow.
Yeah. And at that point, I think he's also gotten a better grasp on the people he's fighting. And so he knows, like, if I slap you, you're not going to die.
Yeah.
The most dangerous things he does are things he does by accident. Like, using the tanker that he thought was full of water, but it was full of gasoline.
Yeah. Like, yeah, that was a great example, too. Yeah. Oh, that scene where he's like, hey, I'm going to throw this, and you throw the truck at it. And I was like, why? Why don't you just throw both?
It's all a combo move if they don't do both.
It's such a weird combo. It's not even like, Cap, you're strong, so you can throw this. It's a toy car.
Oh, man, this movie, more than any other thus far, has had so much Kamen Rider energy to it.
Oh yeah,
It's like, this is gonna be so cool, we gotta do it.
I'm so glad they mentioned like Cap's shield does not follow any logic at all.
Oh,
He will
yeah.
hit it, it will go off right to the camera, and it'll grab it to the left. It don't matter. Does not matter what's going on. It just works. Okay, that's all you need to know.
Yeah.
Speaking of Kamen Rider, though,
Uh-huh.
I really wish they didn't cut as much in this movie right before. Like, there was a lot of jumping off of things, and they kept cutting
Yeah.
right before they hit the ground. And I really wish they wouldn't do that, because it's so stupid already that they're jumping off 8 stories and they hit the ground, and they just, like, roll, or sometimes don't even roll, and they're fine.
Right. It's
I think it would be more interesting if they did a wacky, like, at least just do a CGI fall. I don't care if it
Yeah.
looks worse. I would rather it look worse than you cut away and not show it.
right. It's
Because you're doing we want to have this cool shot where he jumps off an 8-story building, but we don't want to commit to him jumping off an 8-story building.
Or like there's that shot in Winter Soldier where Cap's like jumping off a building and he slides on his shield.
Yeah.
And like it's a little wacky, but also it's fine.
Yeah.
It looks cool.
So cool. Again, the stunt actors in this movie, I really feel like whoever the director of this movie just had a line of stunt actors that they were just filing into a cannon and just firing at objects. It really seemed so much like there was just ragdolls slamming into things in this movie.
Yeah.
Amazing stunt actors. There's so many times I was like, is that CG? No, that is not CG.
A lot of things involving people in this movie were not CG. Like, a lot of scenes in the movie specifically were green screened outside, which no one ever does. It was specifically because they wanted to get the lighting. It's like, if they're doing a shot that's supposed to be outside, it looks like it's outside because it is.
Yeah.
But then they can also, like, composite the background, whatnot, make things look more intense.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
How did
and-
you feel about the suited characters in this movie? We got a lot of suited characters fighting together in this movie.
I thought generally worked out pretty well. Like the scenes that really stood out to me were some of Spider-Man and some of Black Panther, and a lot of that was in the airport fights.
Yeah, same. The airport fight. Well, I wouldn't say so.
Okay.
The stuff that stood out the most to me was the highway fight with Black
Okay.
Panther. Like Black Panther in this movie in general is super heavy CGI to me.
Yeah.
In terms of like his movements. Like his movements do not feel mocapped.
Okay.
They feel animated.
Mm.
I don't know if that's true, but that's how they feel.
So I can tell you that they shot most of Black Panther's stuff like physically using real suits, but like they also looked at it and thought like, we want him to be a bit buffer. We want to change a couple of things. So they did CG over him for a lot of it.
Really? So that is like him?
Yeah, like it is physically him, but then they CG'd over it. So it is animated, but it's also him.
Okay, wow. Because like I thought that like I would have assumed that the whole thing was completely CGI. It looked really weird to me. In an interesting way. Like, not in a bad way, but it did look really weird to me. It made him look more like an animal. Like, he moved more like an animal. He didn't move very, like... His movements were all... I don't know how to put it. Like, maybe it is the animation there, where he almost had, like, a video game idle animation sometimes.
I can see that, yeah.
So maybe it is that. Because that is the best way I can describe it. Is sometimes he feels like he has, like, a sort of... idle animation is the best words I could use for it. But whereas Spider-Man I thought looked fine for the most part.
See, that's interesting because Spidey was 100% CGI. Yeah. Like,
Interesting.
Like they did make a suit, and Tom
I mean, I
Holland
think- I
wore it a
think
couple
that's
times, but every time you see him in the movie, it is CG. Yeah.
I did assume that, but just I mean we have the movie playing on the background here too while we're talking, and just like looking at these Black Panther stuff, it still looks like it's not an actor. But also the Scott stuff in the big suit looked incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Like absolutely incredible. I don't know how they did that. I have absolutely no idea how they did that, and it looks so good.
Yeah.
It's so many, like that whole fight was probably, by the way, like even if this movie is low on my favorites list, the fights were probably some of the best we got in all of the MCU.
I remember when I originally saw it, like when they do the initial lineup, it is very clear like this person's fighting this person's fighting this person, and I was really worried they would do that for the whole thing, but they switch it up a lot.
I actually didn't even look at that shot as this person's fighting this person. These movies have been so good about that. It didn't even cross my mind at all.
That's good.
Like I've never had a this person's gonna fight this person's gonna fight this person in anything in the MCU. I don't think.
Okay.
In a single show, I don't think
Wow.
so. I can't think of any.
Good.
So yeah, I will commend them a lot for that. Peter Parker, this movie, he was all right.
Sure.
He is the most generic Spider-Man they could have done.
Yeah, and I do think a big part of that is that, like, they wanted to very intentionally not do a lot of Spidey things with him, and specifically, they wanted this to be... Well, okay, there are two things I gotta say, but first one is, they didn't want it to be the origin story.
Yeah.
So, like, we don't get great power comes great responsibility. We don't learn how he got his powers. I think he vaguely mentions the incidents.
Yeah, he like, he starts to get into it as a, like,
But they try to be very efficient with it. It is Spider-Man has existed.
I mean,
like all that stuff has.
I will say, like, they hint at the origin story. They basically say with great power comes great responsibility. Like, they do all those things. They just do it in the nudge nudge wink wink way.
Sure.
But I would say, like, yeah, I get what you're saying though. That they didn't want to do the whole Spider-Man origin story. They didn't want to do the Spider-Man movie where you get his origin and blah blah blah. We get it. We already know.
The other thing is that they didn't have the rights to him when they were making the movie.
Okay.
Like, what happened was, initially, they were writing the movie, and the comic book Civil War is very much Tony on one side, Cap on the other, Spidey's in the middle. And, like, he has two outfits throughout it, where he's, like, in one of them on Cap's side, in one of them on Iron Man's side.
Okay.
It is, like, he is the divider. Like, he is the one who determines, like, whose side are you supposed to be on.
Okay, interesting.
And so, they wrote the movie with that in mind. While they also were like, okay, we should probably ask Sony. we should get this hammered out. Sony said absolutely not. So they were like, oh crap, okay, let's rewrite this. T'Challa was supposed to be literally just a cameo. Like, it was him and his dad, and he would have literally just been there as Prince T'Challa.
Okay.
So when they lost the rights to Spidey, they said, okay, we gotta have someone else be the person in the middle. Not even like that specifically. Like, he is more of a third faction.
Yeah, yeah.
And so from there, they expanded it out into Black Panther being a big part of the movie and being like the other person who wants vengeance. And then later on, Sony said, you know what? Well, let's talk about this a bit more. And by that point, they were like, okay, so we cannot, like, we have an actor for Spidey. We can still do this, but we can't make him the middle of the movie anymore. So
yeah,
they spun him off into like this, an intro to the MCU that isn't an origin. And I think it works out pretty well.
I do think it works out pretty well too. It's a good introduction to his character, and it is a good, like, point in the movie to, like, make Tony's side unapologetic.
Yeah.
Or not unapologetic, but it's an easy way to get the audience fully on Cap's side, I feel like.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like this version of it probably worked out better than the version they were. If I went to this movie and Spider-Man was like a huge part of it as like this third faction, I'd be like, what are we doing?
Right. It's
even with if T'Challa was like a huge third. I mean, that's different because he was set up as like he's very relevant to all this, whereas Spider-Man would not be.
Yeah. And I do think, like, being a complete outsider and not even being American does add this entire separate thing to the way T'Challa acts with everyone.
Yeah, so I'm glad they went with that. But yeah, I mean, we'll see more of him as the movies go on, but yeah, this was basically, like, this is if I wrote Spider-Man. Like, this is just the most generic, like, I know how Spider-Man is, this is how, there's nothing, like, surprising about, there's no, like, little bit about, anything where all the MCU characters, I feel like they've changed a little bit. They're like, they're like the comics, but this is what we're doing differently about them and whatever. Whereas I haven't gotten anything like that here. What they changed about Peter was Aunt May, which is like, that's not much of a change to Peter.
Yeah. By the way, Robert Downey Jr. did date the actress who plays Aunt May in the 90s, so...
Weird.
Got that I want to bang your aunt chemistry.
Real weird choice.
Got that I did bang your aunt's chemistry.
Why did they... Not why did they date, why did they choose her as the... Like, did they choose her as the actor because of that?
I don't believe so, but there may have been some influence.
Like, is that just a weird coincidence? Or... It just feels so weird.
I know RDJ does have a lot of influence on the movie. Like, he wasn't supposed to be in it for that big of a thing. Like, it was supposed to be less of a half-and-half thing, but when they said that we want Iron Man to do Civil War, he countered with, well, you're going to have to give me a bigger role than what I see written.
Sure.
Which I think...
Sounds like him.
Yeah. Big RDJ move. Very, very big Tony move.
Yeah.
Okay. Gonna put a pin in that.
Okay.
So, people who are eagle-eyed viewers of your channel will remember this. The character of Peter Parker has appeared once in the MCU before. You have mentioned it. Do you have any idea what I'm talking about?
I have mentioned it?
Yeah, you looked at it very briefly and you're like, wait, what? On like a credits thing, specifically.
On like a credits thing.
Yeah, we were looking up the credits for one of the movies, and you saw in the credits Peter Parker, and then you quickly scrolled away and you're like, what?
Okay, I don't even remember, honestly. This is how fucking bad my memory is. This is why, see people, this is why I can't get spoiled, okay? I spoil myself and I can't even fucking remember this.
Yeah, to be fair, I don't think anyone would blame you for this, because in Iron Man 2, Peter Parker appears as a small child. This small child.
What?
This is canonically Peter Parker.
Does he take off that? Also,
Nope.
this whole thing and nobody's even seeing what we're seeing right now.
They cannot. They know.
They know. They
They're
know.
envisioning it.
But no, he doesn't even take off the helmet or anything.
No.
So, like,
And that is absolutely a retcon.
okay. But, like, why was it in the credits?
It was in the credits of, I think, like, the wiki page.
Oh, okay.
Like, we were looking up someone else in the movie.
Okay, gotcha.
And you looked at Peter Parker and you're like, wait, what?
Okay, that explains it.
Mhm.
I thought you meant, like, I saw Peter Parker. But, okay. What the hell, that's interesting.
So, they...
Cool retcon, though. Honestly,
Yeah.
that's an interesting, like, place to put him.
And it's specifically a retcon that ties him closer to Tony.
How did they get retconned? Like, do they mention that in the movies later on? Or?
Not in the movies. If it was in one of the movies, I wouldn't have brought it up
Yeah,
here.
that's why I'm assuming. But, like,
Yeah.
where did they bring that up for the first time?
I'm pretty sure the directors brought it up during, like, interviews and stuff for Civil War. They're like, by the way, this is not the first appearance of Peter
Hey,
Parker.
you know that kid? That was Peter Parker. Now that is a retcon if I've ever heard one. That's the ultimate retcon. Just somebody at Comic-Con just being like, hey, are we going to get a Peter Orson story? Yeah, he was in Iron Man 2. He was that kid.
The concept of Peter, like, having to block out some input because, like, his sensors are so powerful that he gets overloaded. Like, that's why he's got the goggles. That's why when... That's why he has, like, the sliding eyes now in the suit that Tony gives him.
Yeah.
That is completely an MCU original thing.
Okay, yeah. That's a little bit different then.
They did it specifically because they wanted the effect in the comics of, like, Peter's eyes is kind of, like, they're animated, but
Yeah.
that's not an in-universe thing. Like,
Oh, it isn't?
No. Like, that's not literally his, like, eye shape changing.
Okay.
It is more of a, like, a manga anime thing of, like, he can express himself. And a lot of people in the comics can do that. Where, like, they do express themselves even with a mask. And we do just accept that.
See, I had kind of been spoiled on that, though, then, because I did think I thought that was just a normal comics thing. I thought his suit
Okay.
always had a, to be fair, I think I know that maybe from, like, the game, like the Spider-Man video game or something.
Maybe, like, the PS4 one?
Yeah. I think maybe they might have said it in that or
Yeah.
something. I don't know.
Like, I'm sure after the movie, it's probably been worked into the comics, too, at some points.
Yeah, probably. But, yeah, so I was familiar with that as a concept. Not specifically blocking out, like, he it's not vision exactly, but like
Yeah.
his senses, like just trying to block out the senses.
Yeah.
I just knew it more as like the reason his eyes are expressive is because they are a sort of digital thing. I don't know how you would call it. What you would call it's a mechanical thingy.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so interesting. I did not know that originated in the MCU.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, he's not my favorite Spider-Man in Civil War, but I do just like the idea of we're using Spider-Man and you know who Spider-Man is, so we're not going to talk about it. Like, they never bring up his Spidey sense, but in the airport fight, in multiple points, there are moments when, like, he clearly reacts to something that is happening that he's not looking at.
I gotta say, I'm pretty sure he does bring up the Spidey sense.
He may, but at the very least, it is one of those, like, sideways talking
Yeah,
about
yeah.
things, as opposed to, like, telling the audience, by the way, I can just sense things, or I can predict the future.
Yeah. By the way, so you told me that this movie was not written by Joss Whedon.
Nope.
Which, honestly, very surprising. Because it felt like it was just written by Joss Whedon. Specifically, also, one of the most Joss Whedon lines I feel like in the whole movie to me was the Clint and Natasha being like, so, we're still going to be friends after this, right?
Oh, yeah. But yeah, it was directed by the Russo brothers, who did the other Captain America movies.
Okay.
Yeah. screenplay was by Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, who have done some other things, but they're not as big as Joss Whedon.
Yeah.
And I do think Joss, because Joss wrote the Avengers, there's no way to remove the Jossness from the Avengers.
Yeah.
They would be fundamentally different characters. It would be so weird.
Absolutely. You can't do it.
Yeah. So, they do tone down little things here and there, but a lot of it is still very clear, these are the same characters.
Yeah.
And I do think that is good, because also, they tone down a lot of Black Widow's, when she's trying to be seductive, she does this very, old-timey thing.
Yeah, sort of I can't remember what I called it, but pointed that out, in the last movie.
Yeah. They take away a lot of the Jossness that comes down to the way he writes seductive characters.
Yeah, thank God. Yeah, honestly, that is, I guess I would say, the biggest difference. And that I didn't really think about that until you noticed that, but man, there actually wasn't a lot of flirting in this movie.
No.
Which is also what made the Captain America and Agent Carter, other Agent Carter stuff was so painful.
Yeah.
Also just because it just felt so fucking forced weirdly. It was just Cap can only get with Carters.
Yeah, so thoughts about that?
No thoughts.
No thoughts?
Don't like her. Get her out of the movie. Why? What? Her entire point in this movie is just pushing the straight agenda. It's just Cap has to have a love interest. That's all it is. It's just we can't have Cap and Bucky look so gay together. So we gotta throw in Agent Carter's fucking sister? No, sorry, not sister.
Oh boy, no.
Would not be able to be sister.
They say niece.
Niece.
But if Sharon had a sister and then that sister had a child, that child would be much older, so it's got to be a Grandy situation or something.
Yeah, something. Either way, weird. Didn't like it. Felt creepy. Felt extremely forced.
You didn't like the scene where they kiss and then Cap's bros are in the background. They're like, "Oh yeah."
This movie is so... I mean, not this movie. Just the MCU in general is such a frat house.
Oh, yeah.
So, just... Ugh. Kill me. Where do we want to move from here? There's so much we could talk about. You got the notes, so...
The thing I wanted to put a pin in is... Alfre Woodard, who is the actress who plays Mariah in Luke Cage.
Yeah.
She also shows up here as, I don't think they ever say her name, do they?
I don't think so. She's just a character. She's just a person in the world.
Yeah, she has a name because she is based on, the comic book version of that woman.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was going to add, because they got her actor for this, I wasn't sure if it was, she had, a personal, connection to something like that in real life.
No. The reason why... It really was just that Marvel TV and Marvel Studios don't talk to each other.
So they just accidentally did it.
Yeah, RDJ specifically knew her, and he was the one who said, this is, for this role specifically, I think this person who, is a good actress but hasn't had a lot of high-profile stuff. I mean, she's had high-profile stuff, sure. But, nothing on the level of Civil War.
Sure, yeah.
He said, you know what, I'm recommending this person. She would be amazing. Around the same time, Marvel Television also talked to her and said, hey, would you like this role for a villain who is, here for an entire season, maybe longer?
Definitely multiple.
Yeah. And so she just accepted both.
Good on her. I mean, hell yeah, I would too.
And due to the way scheduling works, I don't remember which one started shooting first, but it did come out as Civil War, then Luke Cage afterwards.
Yeah, it did.
But she would have been working on both of them, around the same time.
Yeah, and I mean, if we can have the actors swapping out, then you know what, we can have two actors playing two different characters, or one actor playing two different characters.
Yeah.
So, who cares? But yeah, I thought there was gonna be a lot more to it than that. Just accidentally, oopsie.
But yeah, I talked to you about it before we started this discussion, just because didn't want you to go oh, is Mariah secretly going undercover as this woman?
I would have 100% been holy shit, they're connecting Luke Cage and so on.
Pepper and Tony seem to be taking a break.
Yeah, a big break.
Yeah. Do you think she's coming back to him? I
hope not. I mean, she is a bad woman too, but you shouldn't deserve him.
And I do think, a big part of the movie is also Tony losing his restraining bolts. In that, Pepper's not around. Rhodes gets taken out of commission, so he can't talk to him at all before the big fights.
Yeah.
Like, it is a slow progression of both the Iron Man suit, like, post the airport battle. The Iron Man suit just keeps on taking more and more damage. So by the final fights, Cap and Tony are on equal grounds. And then also, like, Tony, I wouldn't say he's getting more unhinged, but, like, there's clearly more stress building up in him. So by the time he sees the video, like, you cannot reason with him. There's no possibility of him calming down and saying, well, actually, you know what, it's fine, you were brainwashed.
By the way, I will say, I didn't even notice that the suit was supposed to be damaged at the end.
No?
No. I think that was a big thing when you told me, and I was like, oh, that's what they were trying to do for the whole movie. Whereas I feel like every other movie Iron Man has been in has done the suit getting damaged over time much better and clearer. Whereas this movie, I 100% thought he got a new suit when he came at the end there. Like, when he was walking in the hall, I also said, or I don't think I actually said it in my reaction, but I was certainly thinking, this is the best the suit has ever looked. Like, in terms of CGI, but also, I wouldn't have been saying that if it was falling apart and everything. It looked pristine. And, like, Scott did a lot of stuff inside it, to be fair, but there's also a hell of a lot done to the outside of it. And I think they just could have done a better job to draw attention to it, like they have in literally every other movie that Iron Man has been in.
Yeah. I also, like, rewatching the movie before we started this, I did notice this, like, train of the inferiority that Tony has to go through. Like, specifically when he's talking to Cap, he's trying to make him sign, and Cap brings up, like, hey, by the way, I'm glad your dad got laid. And he, like, Tony does freak out over it because, like, his whole life, he's wanted his father's approval, and he's never been able to get it. He's only been able to, like, spiritually get it, in a sense, by completing the arc reactor. But even then, like in Iron Man 2, it was the combination of, I get to finish it, but also, my dad did this way, 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Also, he screwed over this other guy who also did it 50 years ago.
Yeah, you can't, there's just no good outcome there for Tony. He's always going to have that complex no matter what.
Yeah. When he's talking to him, when he's talking to Cap, he brings up the specific line of, Barnes gets transferred to an American Psych Ward instead of a Wakandan prison. Which do you think is better? Like going into the American mental care system?
Because I also said in my reaction, like, not much better. But, yeah, I mean, both, which is better? Probably Wakandan prison.
Probably.
Yeah, the Wakandan scene, I trust them more.
Yeah. I mean, at that point in the movie, he wouldn't have gotten the help he deserves, which he does by the end of the movie, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because a Wakandan prison is different than, like, a Wakandan maximum security prison.
Yeah.
Which, a American health facility is a maximum security prison.
Yeah.
So, I definitely would say, yeah, Wakandan prison, for sure.
I feel like this movie really, more than any other movie thus far, but especially more than any other Captain America movie, really pushes the limits of what Cap can physically do.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Cap was strong as hell this movie.
He's so strong. He's so durable.
People have been telling me for so long, oh, you keep saying Cap's not this strong. You keep saying Cap's not this strong. Now I get it. The previous movies have not made Cap seem that strong.
I do agree completely. Like, that's why I was never one who brought up, like, oh, but that Cap's actually so much stronger than that.
Yeah.
Like, the movies do ramp it up in terms of what we see. Like, canonically, he's probably been that strong all throughout, but in terms of what we actually can prove...
he could just be... He exercises all the time.
True.
So he should be getting stronger. Because when he was given the serum, it's not like he was working out all the time.
True.
He was given the serum, and then he kind of just went about his life. We didn't really see him train, like, physically train, like, exercise, until he got taken out of the ice.
Yeah. Yeah, because even before that, like all the muscles were given to him by the serum, like, through the process, and then after that, all he really does is go on stage.
Yeah.
Which, that's a little training, but it wasn't actually working out super hard.
Yeah. So I do like the idea that because he has been training this all this time, he is getting stronger and stronger because he has been at the peak that frail Steve Rogers was at, not the peak at what he could be at. Like, he is the peak human, but the peak human could even go farther because the peak human is not at their peak.
Right. I think...
By the way, I'm not sure if I interpreted the scene wrong because they didn't... call any attention to it at all.
Okay.
But the whole scene where Cap goes to the gas doesn't affect him because he's Captain America, right? Is that what that was about?
I thought it was just that if he was holding his breath or something.
Maybe.
Yeah, because we do see him swimming a whole bunch in First Avenger too. Or
what? We see him swimming?
I think
what does that have to do with anything?
Means you can hold your breath.
I'm not saying that Cap doesn't have to hold his breath. I'm just saying that the gas wouldn't affect his body. Because he can't be poisoned.
Maybe.
Because he, I'd have to rewatch the scene because he goes in there, rips the guy's he tells her to get the gas out, but he does rip the guy's mask off and he starts choking. So it is,
yeah.
So it definitely the gas was still in there, and I thought that was supposed to be the gas doesn't affect him because he's Captain America.
It could be,
but they didn't bring attention to it, so I didn't know if I was misreading that scene or something. But
yeah, I think that's potentially valid.
I thought it was a really cool, subtle thing, if that is the case.
Yeah. I think every single person who has worked on the movie and in the MCU has said that at this point, as of Civil War, the scene when Cap is holding back the helicopter is their favorite one. Most of the people who worked on the movie said that is their favorite scene of all time. Loki's actor Tom Hiddleston also said, I wasn't in the movie, but that scene was the best scene I've ever seen.
I don't know if I would say so, but I certainly see why.
I remember it also making a big impact on me. It's specifically the fact that his shirt is so tight and the muscles are bulging so much, and then the flex of him letting go very briefly and then grabbing it again so he can do the big flex.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's so good. And that is him, it's not him holding back a helicopter, but it is him holding back a helicopter that's being pulled away by a crane, actually.
Yeah.
He did actually hurt his arm doing it.
Oh, wow.
Because it was actually the force of a big machine pulling him apart.
Yikes. To be fair, I don't know what I would say is my favorite scene in the whole MCU so far.
Before I forget, I also want to say, specifically the scene when Bucky is running away from everyone and there's a guy driving a motorcycle and he grabs it and, kicks the guy off and gets on.
Yeah.
Completely practical.
Oh.
Not an effect or anything. He really did it.
Damn. That also looked insanely good.
Yeah, I really love how much of this movie was actual physical people actually doing things.
Yeah.
Because it does, it adds more weights to the scenes that are also, clearly not actual people doing things giant Ant-Man slapping people, because everything else around him is physical, so you're able to buy it a little more.
Was that not practical?
I believe it was, he was physically practical, but then, the tiny people were composited onto the scene.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. As far as I recall, it's not even a thing of, they had physical things that they were throwing at him and he was slapping them.
Okay. I mean, well, it looked like a lot of, the stuff that he was, picking up and throwing was definitely real. That was not composited into him. That was, a toy truck that he was picking up and throwing. Yeah. But,
yeah, I mean, the line between practical and effects is also pretty blurry.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff where it will be, physically Black Panther doing something, but then he's been painted over with an animated Black Panther, and then also the claws are CGI and the slashes are CGI.
Yeah.
But then you cut away and then the slash is actually physically there. They do a really good job of mashing it all together.
Yeah, I thought this movie did a great. This movie is definitely the best looking for CGI. Certainly.
Now, how impressed were you by CGI digitally de-aged Tony
Oh,
Stark?
never mind. No, I take it back.
Didn't you love it?
Oh, I hated it. As someone who so many times you guys have been like, oh yeah, I hate how bad the CGI is, and I'm like, I can't even tell this is CGI. That was so bad. It was so unbelievably bad.
There's so many articles of, the people behind it talking about how, happy they are with it, and they're like, yeah, I can't believe we did it. It's so perfect. You can't tell.
It's, no. It just looks like a 40-year-old man's on a 13-year-old's body. He doesn't even look like what any age he's supposed to be. The body is too young. I don't know why they made the body so young. How old is he supposed to be in that? His 20s, right?
Yeah.
Why does he look like he's fucking 15 years old?
They overcorrected a little bit with the body.
They went so far on the body and then not enough on the face. And they really had to get him like as close to the camera as
Yeah.
they possibly could.
That's the other thing. Like in Star Wars and stuff, they've Disney's been perfecting this effect, and it's still pretty rough in a lot of cases. But if someone's far away from the camera, I think generally it looks okay-ish. But they really genuinely wanted to flex on it for this one, which is why we get the shot where it's like 50% his face.
No, not happy about it. Not happy about it. Also, just that whole thing, like Tony. That is the perfect example why Tony is such a piece of shit. Like they could easily just make that a computer program thing, but it was the glasses that cost so much. But yeah, really cool idea. Love that idea. What's putting the glasses? Why is that a physical thing? Why can't I just watch it?
Gotta be able to flex.
He probably spent 100 million of that just in trying to blow out the candles.
Man.
Where do we go from here? Also, I am in the back of my head trying to think about what my favorite scene would be, and I really don't know. So far, the only thing I can think of is the Hyde's transformation from S.H.I.E.L.D.
Okay.
That might be my favorite scene, but I don't know. I'll try and come up with an answer by the end. But yeah.
So, a big part of RDJ's push, he was supposed to be a minor character, but still in the movie. In the movie as it now stands, Steve is in the movie for 5 more minutes than Tony Stark.
I believe it, yeah.
They are almost completely equal in terms of the amount of screen time they have, including, scenes where they're both on screen together.
Yeah. Also, I didn't even realize till just now that the whole team at the beginning was all Cap's team.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even realize how perfectly that fit.
Ah, yeah. Every Captain America movie has featured Steve and Bucky falling into the water from a great height.
Oh, yeah, I mentioned that.
Ah, yeah. They gotta do it every time.
Gotta do it. This whole movie felt like the ending act of this movie felt a lot like just doing Winter Soldier again.
I could see that, yeah.
Like, it was the climb for the button, again.
Yeah.
But, so I wasn't really a fan of the final act. The final act was really underwhelming because of that to me. I was like, why are we just doing Winter Soldier again? Like, this is the exact same set piece kind of fight.
Yeah. I could see some wanting to, wanting to intentionally do it a bit, but I think it was a little much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I see that Cap smashes and steals an undercover cop car.
Yeah.
That's not every movie.
No, not every movie.
I thought your note here was that every movie he's smashed an undercover. I was gonna say, when the fuck did he do that in First Avenger?
Yeah, I want to bring that up specifically because in your reaction you're like, is that just some guy's car?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did mention that.
Yeah, but it was specifically one of those cop cars where the lights are just on the dashboard.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if that's what he was doing or not. But, okay, yeah, so that is what it was.
Yeah. If you...
Oh, I see. I confused your next note of the every Captain America movie has the Steve and Bucky falling. That's what you're... Okay.
So, if you were Steve, would you have told Tony about, the fact that Bucky killed his parents before all of this? It's been about a year since he found out.
Yeah, because it's not like they knew what the fuck Bucky was, or it's not like it would,
right.
If they had Bucky in captivity and they're like, listen, I want to make Bucky the Avenger, but, by the way, he's killed your dad, it'd be a different story. But they didn't know where the hell Bucky was, and they were, they should have been we're going to find Bucky, he killed your dad, but we need to do, something about this, and, I can see why they would think that, Tony might try and do something bad about it.
Right.
But if you... Why are you in the Avengers if you're worried about that?
Yeah.
If you're so worried about what Tony's going to do if you tell him, that's a big issue. It's either an issue and it's a bigger issue than should you tell him or not, or it's not an issue.
Yeah. I think the biggest part of it was Cap's cowardice. In the final scene, he does say something along the lines of, "I thought I was doing it in order to protect you, but then I realized now I'm just protecting me."
Yeah, and I like that. Yeah. Cap has been kind of he's had some, flaws, but, I think this was a pretty big flaw, honestly.
Yeah.
Not being able to tell him that, 'cause that's a pretty big fucking deal.
Yeah, I mean, I think a big part of Cap's arc throughout the series thus far has been, he has to keep on cutting away things that he likes, or like not even intentionally. Like in the first Avenger, it is him losing the entire past, being frozen in the ice.
Yeah.
But then Winter Soldier, he at the very least gets to define himself as an Avenger and a Shield agent. And then he looks at Shield and he says, I can't allow this. Story Fury, you want us to save Shield? We're not doing it. I'm going to destroy the helicarriers. I'm going to destroy Shield. No more Shields. And
Okay.
now he's finally at a point where he's like, I also can't have the Avengers as they were before. I have to take some people. I'm gonna make my own Avengers. But I'm sorry, Tony, we just can't be friends.
Yeah. It is a lot that he's like accidentally, or not accidentally, but just unfortunately losing. That's not as a result of anything, his fault. By the way, it is insane to me that back to back, last episode of Shield and now this movie, we have so casually dropped that Project Insight not gone at all. Shield still has, not like Project Insight, but the face scanning software from Project Insight.
Yes.
Shield still has it. The U.S. government now has it. The U.S. government went, that situation with Shield is fucked up and Shield is not allowed to function anymore. By the way, yoink! So, I mean, not surprising, but there is I'm honestly surprised that, like, with the raft is even more fucked up than the Shield prisons were.
Yeah.
Like, damn, I'm surprised about that. Now, I mean, it's a different kind of fucked up. I guess not, because they're both places that you would never be able to find if you didn't know about them.
Yeah.
So I guess they're both.
Like, are they equal?
I guess it's not, because you might accidentally stumble upon one of, like, the Shield prisons or whatever.
Okay.
Because they're, just under places,
Okay.
Like, I don't even remember where the original one was. Oh, the original one, in, like, season 1 was, like, under just, like, there was just, like, a mental hospital, and it was just, like, under there. It was, like, a maximum security prison, basically. Okay. It's just, like, a level that, like, they don't run it. It's just, like, hey, by the way, we are Shield. We are going to put, like, obviously, now that they aren't, like, a part of the government, they don't do it anymore. They just have, like, their own HQ prison.
Sure.
But before, they used to be like, hey, we're Shield. We're going to put this, like, level under your hospital and just, like, feed these people occasionally, I guess. Because, like, all they really did was just throw them in a locked room and just go away. Like, they didn't do anything with them.
Right.
Like, those were not the ones they were human experimenting on. Those were the ones that they were just like, just throw this person in a room and we'll just forget about them.
Okay.
It was, which is, kind of what the raft is here. Just throw them in a room, put them onto the ocean, and we can just pretend we didn't do that. Yeah.
So, what do you think Cap's Shield situation is going to be, going forward?
I hope that he leaves. I hope that he does not use that Shield anymore.
Okay. I mean, he did leave it. So.
Yeah. I mean, like, I hope that he doesn't, like, come back and he's like, actually, I kind of do want that. But, they could just make him another Shield, I guess. I didn't even think about that, but, like, where did all the vibranium go?
So, Wakanda has all the vibranium, except for a small amount that was stolen by Claw. Claw then sold all of it to, Ultron. And then Ultron used it to make his main body. Well, his main body and also Vision.
But they also got all the vibranium to be able to make the big... Well, I mean, Ultron did.
Yeah.
To be able to make that big thing. What happened to that?
I guess that vibranium might still be there, then.
Like, where? In the crater?
Probably. I mean, it's vibranium. You can't destroy it.
Yeah, I know, but, like, did nobody claim it? Like, you'd think Wakanda would be like, can we have it back now? I mean, I don't think anybody would let them. I'm pretty sure they'd say, no, we're going to put this in a museum, actually.
We know this is important to your culture. Therefore, we're going to put it into a museum in our country where you can't have it.
You can come look at it in our country. We use this to destroy Sokovia, so we're taking it back to the U.S.
Which, by the way, it does seem like, from what King T'Chaka said, that Wakanda has been a very isolationist country. Yeah? Like,
oh, yeah.
Like, what he said specifically is, I can actually find it. I wrote it down.
But yeah, really quick, while you're looking for that, I will
Please.
say, so I do think that the Wakandans will probably make Cap another shield out of vibranium. But yeah, I'm curious as what they're gonna do with the giant chunk of vibranium that's just like a pole. I mean, it's a drill, I guess.
Mm. Yeah, so when stolen Wakandan vibranium was used to make a terrible weapon, Ultron, we in Wakanda were forced to question our legacy. Those men and women killed in Nigeria were part of a goodwill mission from a country too long in the shadows. We will not, however, let misfortune drive us back. We'll fight to improve the world we wish to join. So, I think that does clearly imply that, like, they wish to join the worlds. So, like, they are not part of the world.
But I don't think that's a them thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
So-
if you were to say that, like, you know, any random country in Africa, I would say any random country in Africa I could see saying this. You know, as a classic, you know, please let us be a part of the world because they're too afraid to say, hey, motherfuckers, will you fucking let us? As opposed to, you know, having to sugarcoat it as a, we would now like to. We have not thought about this before, but you know what? Under consideration, I guess we would like to be treated like you guys.
Okay, fair enough.
I think it is more of a, you know, he is sugarcoat, like when he says, like, you know, we've been in the shadows for too long, like what he is meaning is you guys have put us in the shadows for too long.
Okay.
But what he is saying is we have been in the shadows for too long.
Mm.
Like I think that's what it is. I mean,
Sure.
I could be wrong, but we will see. We'll see. How are you going to?
Alright, so, Bucky's trigger words are longing. I mean, listen up, I'm gonna trigger you. Longing. This is also not in Russian, actually. Oh no!
You're gonna activate something different, something much different.
Longing. Rusted. 17. Daybreak. Furnace. 9. Benign. Homecoming. 1. Freight car.
I don't know if any of that's supposed to be important in any way, mean anything. The only thing that it means anything to me at all is Homecoming, and it was the name of a Spider-Man movie. That's it.
So, 17, 9, and 1 are also pretty easy. Bucky was born in 1917.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, so Freight Car is, you know, where he got, you know, kicked out of to die, essentially.
Yeah.
Then Longing sure makes sense.
Mhm.
Rusted, I guess, because he's got the metal arm.
Yeah.
17, because it happened when he was 17?
No, 1917 is when he was born.
Oh, right.
Yeah, like all the numbers can be traced back to that.
Right. Daybreak, no idea.
Furnace.
No idea. Benign, no idea.
Hmm.
Homecoming, he's coming back to Russia, where he was originally from.
I think Homecoming could work in the sense of, you know, like, he's being programmed whenever he says the words. So Homecoming is, like, you are returning to the original, like...
Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah. That could also be Benign. Like...
Sure.
Yeah. I did know that Daybreak is... I mean, I'm not sure what it is in universe, but Daybreak is that song from Community. It is Abed's favorite song.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah. This is important, by the way. I keep on bringing up Community because the Russo brothers did work on Community.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's also why the Dean is in the movie.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Jim Rash.
There is a difference between... you brought this up, that in S.H.I.E.L.D. it is...
Yeah, it was ready to comply, and S.H.I.E.L.D. was happy to comply.
Yeah. So, the wording is so similar. Like, the programs have to be
Yeah.
related.
Yeah, they were definitely trying to do something there.
Yeah. I feel like he has to have some sort of super soldier serum. Like, in Winter Soldier, it seems like it may have just been he has the strong arm, but in this movie, anything that Cap does, Bucky also does.
Yeah, also,
Like, especially
I
during
thought,
the chase.
Yeah, I kept saying his arm was made out of vibranium. It's not made out of vibranium.
Nope.
It sure feels like it's made out of vibranium. Yeah, Bucky is a wild one. I don't
Yeah.
know how his arm is on the same level of strength as, like, Captain America and Spider-Man, and I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't get it, but whatever.
Yeah, like, specifically the fact that he can jump from such high, distances, and he doesn't, like, use the arm or anything. He lands
Yeah.
on his feet, and he's
Yeah.
fine. Like, there has to be some sort of Captain America stuff going on with him. Plus, like...
I mean, I think it was Sam who had his, like, he was thrown against the jail cell thing.
True.
Where his, like, body wrapped around that thing, and he was like, oh, that's gonna be sore in the morning. Like, and people in the movies specifically, not in the MCU, but just in the movies, really feel like they have an extra layer of toughness.
yeah. They've got the comic book, the anime level of energy, where it's like, yeah, this is what a human being is normally like in a comic.
Yeah. Whereas like somebody who has like super strength in the, you know, like Jessica Jones, she has like really strong super strength. She can jump off a building and land perfectly fine, no injuries. Gets hit by a car, that actually is going to be some injuries. Whereas them, they get hit by a car, it's absolutely going to be a, oof, man, that kind of hurt. Doesn't matter. You know, Romanoff's going to get hit by a fucking 18-wheeler and be like, oh, man, bit of a scrape.
So, I mean, Bucky is he's in such a bad position in this movie. Like, I am very annoyed that at no point does he tell T'Challa, by the way, I didn't do it.
Like, I don't want Vic to blame, but Bucky is kind of causing a lot of his own problems.
Yeah. Like, but I do still find him tragic, because...
I do, yeah.
Like, he is in a much worse situation than Cap. Like, Cap keeps on ending up in situations where he cannot go back. But with Bucky has something he can go back to. He can always become the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing in the world he does not want. Like, he is like Cap, but he has a curse on him now as well.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it would be like Cap if S.H.I.E.L.D. was still around for him to go back to, which it is, but he just doesn't know.
Yeah. No one tell him.
Yeah.
And I do like the idea that, in the end, the only thing that can save him is T'Challa. Like, the person who has... You know, he doesn't have a right to hate him because it was a mistake, but it had to be the character who was also driven by rage and who had to consciously go, I'm not going to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just going to help you, and by helping you, I'm going to make you not the kind of person who would have done this.
Yeah.
Like, he is the only character who gets rehabilitated in this movie. Or, you know, like, he's on the path to rehabilitation, I should say.
Sure. You know.
Like, everyone else is just in prison.
Not anymore.
Sure. I mean, like, they're supposed to be in prison.
Yeah. But, yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I would agree. I think, yeah, he is really the only one who would be able to do it. As much as you said, it's not Bucky's fault, but it kind of needed to be him regardless, because it was... Even if it wasn't him, because it was framing him, it's the kind of him thing.
Yeah.
You know? It's the, even if you're being framed, you're only doing it because you're the Avengers.
Yeah.
I mean, that is also a thing of, like, why the Avengers shouldn't be the Avengers, you know? They should just be individual people, because when they're individual people, it's a less of a, you know, it's very easy to keep bringing up the Avengers as a thing people hate when there is this thing, the Avengers.
Right.
Whereas they would have to specifically say, I just hate anybody who's stronger than me.
Yeah. Like, a lot of the anti-Avenger stuff can be boiled down to a lot of, like, individual actions. Like the Hulk, for instance. Like, they had to bear the blame of the Hulk during the Battle of New York for jumping around and smashing buildings and throwing rubble on people. Like, that is not something any of them individually did. They did allow it by saying, you know, go wild.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, yeah.
It is, yeah. They do not work as an organization. And even Cap's, you know, Avengers, as I'm calling it, just as a shorthand. But I don't think that's how it's going to work. I do think they're going to work separately. They might help each other, but I think primarily they're just going to be doing stuff on their own.
I do think that Bucky also, like, final Bucky points, he really is a metaphor for what Cap is worried about with the Avengers. Like, they are going to become this automaton that is given orders and they just have to do them.
Yeah, because that's basically what was going to happen.
It's like that, but all of Cap's friends, not just one of them. Because then you also have the anxiety of, you know, like...
I actually had the big, like, halfway through this movie where I was like, wait, I thought that Tony's main reason for doing all this was just because he wanted to sign the Accord stuff, but it seems like the majority of why he was doing this actually was because he didn't believe Steve.
Yeah.
Which I honestly kind of didn't even catch that until like a bit through the movie, because I guess I was just giving Tony too much benefit of the doubt, where I kind of like didn't even register to me. And I was like, wait, you're serious? Like, you don't just mean it passively. You do mean you do not think this is happening. Like, what?
Yeah.
But, also, speaking of which, the whole, what was the bad guy's name? What was the villain in this movie's name?
Zemo.
Zemo. What was his plan fully? His total plan?
Okay, so, his original plan was he was going to find the Winter Soldiers. He was going to lure Cap and Tony to them.
Yeah.
That's why he kidnapped the guy for Hydra. His original plan was, you are going to tell me where the Winter Soldiers are, then I'm just going to go to them, and then I'm going to lure them here. Like,
But how would he have lured them there? Like, that's the thing.
I think at some point he may have, like, he probably would have had to eventually, like, brainwash Bucky.
Sure.
Yeah, but, like, the original plan was not to
I guess that was, yeah, he didn't need to brainwash Bucky.
Yeah, but, like, the main things he needed, the two things he needed were, he needed the Winter Soldiers, so then he could have a threat that they would go fight. Or, like, not even fight, that there would be a threat that would force both of them to be there. And then he also needed the tape, which he did not have. That's why he kept on asking about that specific day.
Yeah.
He needed someone who had the tape, because then that's objective proof. So,
I guess what I mean more is, with the framing Bucky and all that, like, what was the point of that?
That was because he needed to find Bucky, so that, like, I do think his main plan did not involve Bucky at all. Originally, it was just, he wanted to find the tapes, and he wanted to lure Cap and Iron Man to that bunker.
Yeah, and so that he needed Bucky.
But no, like, even then, he wouldn't have necessarily needed Bucky. As long as he had the Winter Soldiers, like, he could have even just, like, awoken some of them and sent them out, and, you know, had that be a threat.
I was assuming he would need Bucky, because why would Cap and him fight, you know, if Cap wasn't actually trying to, you know, also protect Bucky.
Like, I think his main emphasis was that having the tape would be enough to make them fight. Like, like, showing Tony that Cap has been lying, you know, the Cap has been withholding this, and that it was in fact Bucky. Even if Bucky was not around, I think that would have been enough.
Sure, maybe.
And that's also why I think, like, the Hydra guy not working with him is what causes most of the movie to happen. Because he doesn't have that shortcut, then he has to find Bucky. How does he find Bucky? He has to bomb the embassy, and, you know, frame Bucky for that in order to flush him out, and then find him, and then brainwash him.
Okay.
Like, a lot of that is not stuff he wanted to do initially.
Sure. I feel like, yeah, okay, I got that. What was with the, like, revealing of the evidence?
I think that was, like, he needed...
Like, he needed Tony to then...
Yeah, because the way he had set it up, he had caused too much division already.
Yeah, I think that was the...
Yeah, like, he ultimately needed Cap and Tony to both be there. And
I guess that's what I'm getting at. I am, like, thinking that he wanted to cause division throughout all of the Avengers, you know, and then additionally the big two, like, that he wanted to fight and kill each other were Tony and Cap. If Tony and Cap kill each other while the Avengers are in this, you know, state of not trusting each other, then it will all fall apart. But maybe that was not. Maybe his sole plan was just, I just want Cap and Iron Man to kill each other.
Yeah, like,
I don't know why those two specifically. Like, why does he hate Cap so much?
I think it was just that, you know, Cap and Tony are the two big ones that he could make fight. Because, like, he knew... Like, he clearly knew about this incident already. Yeah. He just didn't have any proof of it. So.
Yeah.
And, like, maybe it would have been different if Hulk was... You know, if Hulk hadn't left, if Thor was, you know, on Earth for some reason.
Potentially. But, yeah, I do think it's kind of an improv plan.
Yeah. Which I do... Like, I really appreciate that this is not a perfect plan that could have worked no matter what happens.
Yeah.
Like, he does roll with the punches and pull it together, and even then, at the very end, like, he did not expect T'Challa to be there at all.
Yeah.
Like, it still worked out in the end for him. He did manage to make the Avengers, like, fall apart.
Yeah.
But
he was the first, like, successful villain we've seen.
Yeah.
Not fully successful, but mostly.
Also one of the only villains to not die at the end of the movie.
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
Like, the movies especially. I don't remember if the TV shows do it as much, but the movies have a problem of never letting any villain survive, so there are very few, like, recurring villains.
Yeah. Really weird that that's the case, but, like, really weird that we've... I mean, I guess for most people this would be a good thing, but for me, it's really crazy that we've killed all the supervillains and then the normal dude we've put in the maximum security prison.
Yeah. Or, like, even, like, at the start of the movie is Crossbones, is Rumlow from Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Who is just a dude.
Yeah, and he dies.
Just a dude who, I guess, kind of doesn't feel pain.
Yeah, what the fuck was that? What was the scene of, that won't work on me anymore? I was so like, oh, what happened? And then he's just like, a building fell on me, so now electricity doesn't work on me anymore.
Yeah.
What? Doesn't make any goddamn sense. But, yeah, Rumlow, I'm pretty sure what was going, like, it didn't really go anywhere. I had to, like, rewatch that stuff, because, like, did that was that tied to the movie at all? But no, it didn't really go anywhere. I just assume it's like the government, told him to do that for some reason. Maybe it's a tie-in for one of our other movies or something.
Maybe.
But the fact that it was Rumlow, like it could have been Hydra, but like with how decked out they were and with everything if Shield is canon at all, this cannot be Hydra.
Right.
It can't. So, and not because all of Hydra's wiped out, but just because at the time of what's going on, like Hydra is supposed to be right before this all wiped out. But even that aside, regardless of that, they've just been in so much chaos that there's no way they would be able to do something like this.
Right.
They've been extremely, short on resources. So, yeah, I just like this feels like it has to be. I assume the U.S. government. I don't.
Maybe
would make sense for them to pick him up after Shield. It seemed like Hydra had him, but I don't think we knew. Did we know exactly that Hydra had him at the end of, or did we just see that he was being worked on?
We just saw that he was being taken away.
Do we see who?
Like just the ambulance.
Okay.
Like it didn't seem like it was Shield or like a paramilitary organization or anything. It looked like he was just like nearly dead.
Okay. So then I think that's more plausible that then the government was just like, let's just, use him to steal this virus because why do I think this is happening?
Because it is a very specific thing. It is virus.
Yeah, it is. Like, I'm thinking they're using it to blame it on something like, we'll release this virus and say that this virus is because of blah, blah, blah.
Just a mysterious virus that broke out at a wet market in China.
Oh, no. But no, I do think they were trying to make it I don't know for what reason, but like if Inhumans were a thing, I think they would try and make it like, oh, there's this Inhuman disease. But like, what are they going to be? This is just a powered, like, oh, if you accidentally fell into a nuclear reactor, you might be giving off this disease now. Like, you can't like tie it to a powered people. Because we don't really have a powered people race aside from Inhumans, which seems like it might not even be canon to the MCU.
Also, I do think a big part of it is also Rumlow just being an asshole. Because,
what do you mean?
Like, specifically, in this fight, it was very clear that he did not expect to survive this, and he didn't.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, he goes in, he specifically says, like, I'm not coming back. Yeah. He's got the big punchy things, he fights Cap, he has a suicide bomber vest on.
What do you mean part of part of what?
Like, whatever they're doing, like, I don't think... Like, Rumlow is probably being used by another organization, but I don't think part of that was him expecting at any points to...
Oh, no, he just wanted to kill Cap.
Yeah, I do think, like, his involvement in this is... What we are doing here is going to piss off Cap. Like, the Avengers are going to be involved. Yeah. That's why I'm here. I want to fight Cap.
Yeah, assumingly they were just like, hey, we'll give you a chance to kill Cap if you do this thing for us. And, well, we got it. So, like, if it comes... I don't know how it's going to come in another movie, because we got it. It's fine. So, like, I don't know how it would come back up. It was kind of just, like, a thing we did.
Yeah.
I forgot that we had the vial, so now that I've thought that, I don't think it's going to come back up in another movie.
Okay.
But I could, but,
Yeah, it's not a Tiny Juice situation where, like, the villains did get it, and we just don't talk about it.
Yeah. Who knows what's going on with the Tiny Juice. If all of Hydra's been, defeated except for this one dude with Tiny Juice.
They didn't tell you about Tiny Hydra.
Oh, no.
I will say, I was a little disappointed because specifically in the comic Crossbones, I don't remember if his name's Brock in the comics, but anyways, the end of Civil War in the comics is, Cap's side ends up losing, or they submit.
Sure.
And then as they're being led away, Crossbones assassinates Captain America and he dies.
Okay.
So I really thought, like, in the movie, I didn't think he was going to die per se, but I thought that we were going to set more of a twist with him. But instead he played more of a role similar to another character in Civil War, who, like, sets off the Accords by, like, basically exploding, killing a whole bunch of kids.
Yeah.
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 So, not as big as I was expecting, but it's fine. It's fine.
Of course, it's only ever a problem when the Avengers do it. The Avengers accidentally have a bomb go off in a building, and God forbid we didn't sign the Sokovia Accords. The government can bomb whoever the fuck they want, and it's totally okay. The government said they could do it, so it's cool.
It's also the classic problem of, the villains are throwing, like, buses at a city, and then Superman blocks 90 of them, and then he misses the 91st, and everyone's like, Superman, you monster! You
Yeah.
killed all those people!
Yeah. But at the same time, like, they could have made the more argument of, you know, it is the fact that they are the Avengers. Like, signing the Sokovia Accords is only going to make it so much worse.
Right.
The reason that the Avengers are a problem is because they are the Avengers, not because of what they're doing.
Yeah, how do you feel about the Vision's theory in the movie of, like, ever since Tony debuted as Iron Man, the number of powered individuals has gone up, also the number of, like, world-ending events has gone up. Like,
Yeah.
the Age of Miracles is also the Age of Destruction.
It's the most self-centered thing I've ever fucking heard. Like, it is the most, we got Tony and we put him on the Avengers, so Tony is the start. Tony is just some dude who fucking made a suit. It makes no sense why he is considered the start of this.
Right.
And they bring it up in shows too and everything, and it's always so fucking weird. Because Tony's not special in any way.
Right,
He's just a dude in a suit. And like, yeah, that is, what we've bringing up since Iron Man 2. Iron Man 2 was all about specifically, because Tony's the only one in this suit, that's why all these people are dying.
Right.
If everybody just had an Iron Man suit, not even, Ivan was the dad, right?
Yes.
Who was Anton. He wouldn't have been, really going after him if that was the case.
Yeah.
But, like, it's a thing of, like, well, his son is doing the exact same thing that his dad did to fuck over my dad, so I'm gonna go kill him.
Right.
And yeah, it's a very, like, this has been present throughout all of the MCU.
Yeah. And I do think, like, especially once you go into the shows, the timeline is so broad on both sides. Like, from a public perspective, I could definitely see a lot of public people saying, yeah, of course Iron Man's the first powered person even.
Yeah.
But if you know history, and I mean, this is a problem in real life, where we see, like, a person, like, causing an uprising in the Middle East, and you're like, wow, this man started all the violence in the Middle East. I can't believe all the problems in this part of the world all started in 2015.
It's unbelievable. Wow, what a miracle.
How could this have happened?
Shit, I was just going to say something. I can't remember what I was going to say now. What were we just talking about?
Iron Man suits.
Right.
Can I do something while you think about it?
No, I got it.
Okay.
What I was going to say was that all the, like, speaking of the powered people keep popping up more and more and everything, but the vast majority of the powered people are the government fucking up in some way. Like, very little powered people are... I mean, we don't have any powered people that are born that way, aside from Inhumans, which are not in this. So, in terms of, like, stuff that has come up in the movies or not S.H.I.E.L.D., we don't really have anybody that I can think of who isn't a government fuck-up. Like, can you think of anybody?
I guess Thor.
Sure.
Like, he's not from this world.
Sure. It's also why I said he was the most important in this movie and he wasn't even fucking here. Vision as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, aside from those two, aside from Thor and Vision, aside from aliens or whatever Vision is.
I mean, like...
is it right to call Vision an AI?
Yeah.
Is he, though? I guess he is artificial intelligence. I guess when you really boil it down to the definition.
That is exactly what an AI is. I don't know what to tell you.
But I mean, like,
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I guess I guess you're right. You're right. But yeah, so I don't think we can think of a single person aside from that is human that, has not gotten their powers from a government fuck up ability. No. I was gonna say Scorch, but no. I forgot that he got that because he was living outside a nuclear power plant that was all like had a bunch of runoff. No, I don't think there's fucking anybody. So it doesn't make any, I mean, it makes sense why the government would be saying this, but in terms of a logical, actual thing, it's of course false.
Right. It's
the only reason this is continuing to happen in the world is just because the government continues to be more and more fucked up.
Right.
They keep trying to top themselves.
So, people at the time, I definitely remember this, thought it was really weird that Age of Ultron really pushed the visual of the Avengers trying to save everyone. Like, with the helicarrier and with, like, the extended scenes of them, like, running through Sokovia and the Quicksilver grabbing people and all that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the movie really tried to push the idea of, like, they're trying to save as many people as possible, you should focus on that. And then Civil War turns around and says, well, even no matter how much they do, there's still, like, there are tons of people who are dying in all of these situations.
Yeah.
I think a part of that is specifically because of the DC series and, like, specifically Batman vs. Superman. But, like, a lot of
Sure.
DC movies in general had, like, really brought up this problem more clearly of, like, we're going to do some cool stuff and a lot of people are going to die, but we're not going to talk about it. And so it definitely feels like Civil War was a pushback on that. Like, they were trying to say, we are going to talk about it. But,
Okay.
and, like Marvel movies definitely have a lot of stuff where you can look back and say, this definitely had a bunch of casualties. Sure, like, most things do. Or, like,
Yeah.
most, like, hero stuff does. It just feels a little weird when the last, like, thing you would compare this to is Age of Ultron, which really tried to push the opposite message. Like, you can have competing messages in a work, but...
You can. But yeah, I do see what they're kind of saying.
Yeah. It's a weird, like, statement if you were looking at it as one vision.
Yeah, because I did really like in Ultron those scenes and everything, and I thought, like, going forward, it's like, okay, yeah, we should have people in the Avengers who are just there to save people. They're just there for crowd control. And that is the big problem in any kind of series like that. You got to have the people who are, like, the character gets an Iron Man, is going to go fight the big bad guy, but then the bad guy's minions, get in the way and muddle stuff up. So you
Right.
need Avengers who are fighting the powerful ones, Avengers who are fighting the mooks, and Avengers who are just saving people. And obviously we're not going to get any of that because we're kind of, like, done with the Avengers, and I'm kind of happy with that. But if you were to have the Avengers organization, I did think that they established that and acknowledged that was really cool.
Yeah.
So I am glad that we got that before we got the split up.
Mhm.
I'm not sure where they would be able to do it otherwise.
Yeah. Because, like, in a more comic, like, in the comics, it would be more on, like, Shields to do that kind of thing. But, of course, you can't do that in the MCU, or
Yeah.
in the movies, because no more Shields.
Yeah. Also, it seems like Shield's a lot more, we come in afterwards and clean up the viscera. It seems like it, but
Yeah.
what else we got? What else you got for me?
So, as you may have noticed, Sam is A, way more techie now,
Yeah.
and B, he's got a drone on his back called Red Wing.
Yeah.
This is, of course, a reference to the comics, in which, I can't believe I've never brought this up before, Sam is telepathic, and he has a pet falcon named Red Wing.
Okay.
Mhm.
I've seen Sam in the comics, so
Yeah.
yeah, I get it. He is more like Falcony in the comics.
Yeah. Like, I'd say he's definitely got, like, all the MCU stuff going on, but also, like, he's got a falcon. He can also talk to birds in general, but, like,
Okay.
specifically he's got a pet falcon that he hangs out with.
Whoa. I mean, yeah, unsurprising. I mean, well, I'm clearly pretty surprised.
Yeah, don't you hide it. The Red Skull used the power of a Stone the Three Rights reality to give him the power to talk to birds, so he could fight Captain America. And then later on, they become friends.
Cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of cool, though, I will
Yeah.
say, in terms of the coolest Avengers, like the ones that have the coolest new like move sets and everything like that, I think Wanda #1, Sam #2. Those two were dope this movie.
Yeah.
Sam more so at the beginning. Sam didn't do as much cool shit at the end because his cool stuff is more crowd stuff.
Yeah.
Like 101, he can't do as much cool stuff. But yeah, the beginning really made Sam shine a lot.
Yeah.
And Wanda just is just so fucking cool. I love her. She's amazing. Her character, we'll see where they go with it. I'm still curious. It's not enough for me to really like her that much as a character right now. But she's really cool.
Yeah.
She's super cool. I think my favorite... it's definitely not my favorite scene in the MCU. I'm not going to go that far, but... is it my favorite scene in this movie? I don't know. I don't know if I would go that far even. But I loved the scene of her pulling the cars out.
Yeah.
It looked so anime. Actually, more than that, it looked very Kamen Rider, actually.
Yeah. And like her moveset is so unique amongst the Avengers.
Yeah.
Like you don't have a lot of people who do like even the hand wavy stuff, like like controlling wind or stuff like that. Like a lot of the Avengers are very hand to hand or like shooting energy beams or like stuff where it's focused on the person. Whereas Wanda is a lot of like you look at her, but what you look at when you see her is not what she's doing. What she's doing is something so over there.
Yeah, and I really like just the the whole Rumlow exploding where she condensed it and pulled it out was amazing. I absolutely I love anything where they can sort of capture in an explosion in a sort of like area like that.
Now, do you blame her at all for, the explosion hitting the building?
I mean, no, that was 100% Cap's fault. I mean, and that's not even like it's their fault because they're Avengers. That is Cap's fault. He should have seen the vest. As he said, he got too emotional. It's understandable why it happened, but it is his fault.
Right. It's...
Because, if he had seen the vest, they could have easily Wanda grab him before he even explodes, get him high up in the air.
Yeah. Because it is a situation of... I don't know what would have been better, because you leave him on the ground, he kills everyone in the area. You move him,
if they left him on the ground, he might not have actually killed anybody. Rewatching that scene, it's not like there was actually that many people around him. Whereas she threw him basically into the building. Like, she didn't mean to, but she basically threw him in the building, and I imagine that the explosion breaking the window, then interacting with the air inside the building, caused it to be much bigger.
Okay.
Like a backdraft sort of situation.
Yeah, I can see that.
Rather than if it was on the ground... even if it was on the ground and exploded, she might have just been able to put up a barrier just to force the explosion upwards, as opposed to a circle. But, because he just, it was so fast, I get your immediate thought would be, just in case the whole thing in a bubble and try and get the bubble far away.
Yeah.
But, there's better options, and that is the thing. It was a quick... It was too improv because of Cap.
Right.
But, yeah, I don't blame her, no. Not her. Not her fault.
All right. So... gotta ask you, about T'Challa. So, as everyone knows, or you might not actually know this because you may be watching this in the future. This is pretty shortly after Chadwick Boseman passed away.
I am aware of that.
So, did knowing about that affect your viewing of the movie at all?
I mean, no, because I was unfamiliar with him as an actor, so I wasn't that connected. I'm sad that it happened, but I'm not connected with him as an actor. And in general, I don't connect myself with actors very much. Musicians more so, or people on smaller scale stuff. But I've never connected I've never been that upset over celebrities' deaths. Just because I don't know, or not celebrities, actors, specific actors, actresses, and even big name musicians and stuff like that. Just because I don't know, I find it hard to connect myself with someone that big.
Okay.
So even if I've grown up watching their movies and stuff like that, it's different to me. I don't know why, but no, it didn't really affect me that much. It seems weird saying this.
No, I get it. Yeah. So the dialect that he speaks in the movie is called I can't pronounce this. It is Kosa, but the k is a click sounds.
Okay.
It is a I can't do it.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna try.
Yeah, it's like a Kosa.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think that's it at all, but...
It's not it at all. The click is supposed to be the first syllable. I did the click and then also the entire word. But he did it because John Candy, the person who plays King T'Chaka, his first language is Kosa.
Okay.
And Chadwick Boseman also just spoke Kosa. So they were talking in Kosa, and they figured, what if this is just the language of Wakanda?
Hey, might as well.
Yeah.
That's cool.
With MCU stuff, it is so wild how much of it is very strictly planned because there is a big plan, and then how much of it is improv or someone on set just goes I'm just gonna do this.
Yeah, I actually like that they leave in a lot of improv stuff.
Yeah, or the actors do have a lot of control over the characters.
Yeah, I guess that's more what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of control is not a lot because it's Disney, but within that bubble, there's more control than an animated movie or something.
Yeah. Which is good and bad in other ways.
Yeah.
Tony in this movie with the, I want to be half the main character of this movie.
The specific scene where Wanda's fighting Vision is interesting because, when she uses her powers on him, specifically his Infinity Stone glows. It glows red. Like, not the color of the stone itself. Like,
Yeah.
she is using her power on the stone.
Yeah,
and
I
then,
mean,
yeah, and then he slams through the building.
it makes sense that, you know, they have some sort of connection there because he's basically like her father in a weird way. I mean, he is.
Is he?
His brain is her dad. I mean, well, I guess not.
dad?
I guess not really. I mean it as in like giving her the powers and everything.
Sure.
But like the powers are who she is now. Like she identifies very closely with her powers.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
So that's more where I was going with it. Like,
Mhm.
but yeah, not literally.
Yeah.
But I mean, like in a like, he gave her identity.
Sure. Like, he is the origin of her powers.
Yeah.
Or rather, his stone is the origin of her powers.
And even more than that, I would say like his stone is the origin of her identity.
Sure.
Like, you know, her identity comes from her powers and all that. But
Yeah.
I think it makes it different than like someone like Quicksilver, where it wouldn't have been as like big of a personal connection.
Sure.
I feel, because it's not like he like identified very closely with his powers or anything.
Right.
He was just like, I had these powers.
Hmm.
I mean, we would probably know because we didn't see him after, you know.
Yeah.
That,
He didn't
but,
have a lot of time to reckon with it.
Yeah, but still.
Which also, she's so much more normal now.
What do you mean?
Like, in the end credits scene for, like, the first time we ever saw her, she had this very, like, quirky looking
It's true,
vibe.
yeah.
And then all throughout Age of Ultron, she has a very creepy, weird vibe to it. Like, a lot of her scenes are shot like horror scenes.
She did go from a almost like goth sort of vibe to now she's just kind of very, I don't know, normal.
I think a part of that might just be... I think a part of that might be Vision. Because Vision is also going for the extreme normcore aesthetic. Like, no one told him to do this, but he's wearing the sweater vest, he's hanging out, he's like, I'm gonna use, you know, I thought it was okay because the door was open. I saw the door was open, so I came in through the wall. Oh, okay, never mind, I'll use the door.
Yeah.
Like, he's trying so hard to be a normie.
Vision is insanely weird. Like, he is, it's so strange to me that he has, like, he got access to basically all the information that exists, and then he decided, I want to dress like this. This is how I want to dress. I've seen all fashion, and this is what I've chosen.
It's one of those cosmic level things where I can't argue with him because I don't know. Like, if you go through all human knowledge, you might come to the conclusion that normcore is the best.
Maybe, I don't know. But Vision was so much different in this movie from how I thought he was going to be. Like, damn, Vision is weird.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure what else is there to say about Wanda. I feel like we covered a lot about Wanda.
Yeah.
I see that you have something about Vision and Wanda definitely have something going on. Did you mean that in terms of the Mind Stone thing, or did you mean that in terms of the like their relationship?
A bit of both. Like,
Because see, I wasn't actually sure. Like, how was your read on this movie? Originally, I was going into it, but then the more was happening, I was like, wait, is this supposed to be like a relationship thing that they're trying to do here? Like, is this supposed to be flirting? It felt like a father-daughter relationship to me.
I saw it as, like, minor flirting at the start that then, like, really fell apart. Like, I think it is because, you know, she got her powers from him, that they have a bond of sorts, and over the last year or so, like, I think that's also why she's so much less weird now. Like, I think it is the two of them rubbing off on each other. But, you know, like, I wouldn't qualify that with a specific type of relationship. I just think they have a relationship in general. Like, not a romantic thing.
I wasn't sure if they were trying to build a sort of romantic relationship with him or something, but yeah. Don't know.
Yeah.
I took it as father-daughter, but it could be whatever it is. I mean, even that, I was like, it's not quite, but it's the closest I could think. More like older brother, younger sister.
Sure. So, concerning Ant-Man, we gotta accept the rules as they are shown, which are consistent with the way they were shown in Ant-Man, but not the way they were described in Ant-Man.
Yes.
When something gets big, it is heavy, it is like it's a big thing. Like the Thomas the Tank Engine.
Yeah. I brought it up in Ant-Man. It doesn't make any sense here also. Why are these things getting big, but yet they still hold the same amount of structure? I don't know. I don't get it, but whatever. It is what it is.
I don't know why they didn't just say, it's Pym particles. Pym particles make it so when it goes big, it's heavy. When it's small, it's light, but also you have the same strength when you're punching.
None of it makes any sense.
Yeah.
He goes into some other fucking dimension. He goes small enough to go, like, it's... Nothing about Ant-Man makes sense at all. That's fine.
We just have to cling to the rules, but not like the explanation for the rules.
The rules don't even make any sense, though. The rules in Ant-Man, the
When
original don't make sense.
When he's big, he's heavy. When he's small, he's light, but he punches like he punches normal.
No, but I mean, like, even in
So-
Ant-Man, they do the thing of like, oh, I have to go so small that I can get through the particles of this thing,
Yeah.
but I'll also be big enough to rip apart these things.
Oh, yeah.
It's never made sense. It's whatever. It's like Cap Shield. It is what it is.
So, is Scott going to be okay after this? Because we were talking before about Hawkeye and how, but Hawkeye isn't really like his family isn't breaking any laws or anything. His family should just be fine on a farm.
Yeah.
Where Scott's family, you know, like they want him to be a part of their lives. Also, they don't know, like they know a little about the fact that he has the suits.
Yeah.
But they're going to be real shocked when they're like, oh, by the way, you were breaking international law. What is going on? What happened?
He's really gotta honestly leave his family. Like, the family has got another family. They've got a stepdad. You can't be, oh, I can go see my daughter occasionally if you're going to be doing this sort of stuff. And it's fun. I want Scott to be doing this sort of stuff.
Right.
I think he is one of the most apt persons to be doing this stuff just as a person. But he's really got to let his family go. I mean, I talked about it in Ant-Man. I mean, he's just such a shithead to his family. He's got to let him go.
And we've seen that he has this drive. Like, this is a thing he wants to do. It is something he is suited for.
Yeah. But, but yeah, I hope he does something with that, because, yeah. Dude, man, seeing Scott in the prison, like, I mean, just seeing all of them in the prison, it's such a, seeing Zemo in the prison cell, anytime I see anybody in a prison cell, especially, it's different when it's like a normal jail cell or prison cell, because it's normally like, at least there's a sentence they're going to get out of. It gives me anxiety, just inherently. I see somebody in a jail cell, and I immediately start having anxiety. But, when it's a maximum security thing like this with Zemo, it was like my heart started beating like so fast. I can't help it. It's just a physical reaction I have. But being so connected to all these characters and then seeing them in a maximum security prison, knowing like even with their powers they would be able to do nothing about it and everything. And I wasn't even thinking like even if at least one of the Avengers went in there, I would think like even if Cap tried to get them out, he wouldn't be able to.
Right.
Thank fucking God he was able to. But I was assuming it was going to be like, like that Cap would not go that far.
Right.
Like Cap would not just, knock out all these people in this facility. But I'm glad he was willing to. But yeah, that just seeing them all there, as connected as I was to them, I felt like I was going to break down on camera. Yeah, it was a nightmare. But yeah, Scott especially. Like, Scott is just such a normal. Scott is the person I could put myself in his shoes, because he is just a dude that, just like stole shit and then was given a suit and now he's in the Avengers.
Right.
Like, he is, Tony isn't even just like a dude. Tony is like hey, I built this suit. No, only I get to have this suit. It's not like Scott's like, only I get to have this suit. He's like, I don't fucking know how this suit works.
Yeah, it's not even his suit.
Yeah,
It's
he's like, somebody gave me this suit. I don't know what the fuck do you want me to do? So, yeah, I really, really like Scott. Loving him. I think he might be my favorite. I said I wasn't sure if it was between Steve or Scott, but you know what? I think it will be Scott. I think Scott's my favorite.
So, Thunderbolt Ross, when did you realize it was him?
It was a while into the movie. I don't remember if it was because they said his name or because I just went like, wait, is this Ross? When he first appeared, I was like, I think this is Ross, but I was also just like, I can't tell fucking white people apart, so I don't want to do the class. Like, half my fucking Shield reactions are me going like, oh, it's this character. And then by the end of the reaction, like, oh, that actually was not that character at all. Oopsie. So I didn't want to do that. I've been a lot more, also, like when T'Challa first appeared, I was like, this might be, I was like, oh, is this Black Panther? But then I immediately was like, oh no, actually, this is probably going to be the villain for Black Panther that they're setting up now.
Okay.
Especially with everything that happened with not King T'Challa, what was his name?
King T'Chaka.
King T'Chaka. Everything that was happening there, I was like, oh, this is setting up the Avengers killed my, father, and I wasn't sure how they were going to tie it into Black Panther, but I was like, it's probably going to be the villain for Black Panther or something like that. But even then, I didn't. That sort of stuff I want to bring up in the discussion because so many of my reactions has been me just going like, "Oh, it's this person. Oh no, it wasn't that person at all. I'm just so bad with faces."
For Black Panther, they're also kind of doing a similar thing that they're doing with Spider-Man, in the sense that, you know, he debuts in something that is not his movie. He has an arc in something that's not his movie.
Yeah, which I really like.
Yeah,
I fit a lot.
Do you think the Black Panther movie is going to do a origin story for him?
It has to, because we don't know much about him. Like you know, prior to what we know in this movie. This movie has a lot of characterization for him, but like I do think what comes before that is important. What shaped his life up to that point, and especially because he is royalty, I need to be able to trust him. I mean, I already don't trust him, but because he threw Zemo in a jail cell instead of killing him, which. I know for a lot of people that is the more moral thing to do, but it is not for me.
Okay.
I just cannot stand by that action as the morally right thing to do. Not as in even a Zemo deserved to die, but as in a Zemo did not deserve to be put. No one deserves to be put. You cannot possibly be evil enough to deserve being put in the raft.
Oh, then I'll ask you, like, if they still need information out of him, but they don't want to imprison him, what should they do?
Reform him. He can definitely be reformed.
No, I mean, like, how do they reform him?
What do you mean? Like through? I mean, well, it wouldn't be possible because they don't have an actual, you know, thing there. But what information did they need out of him?
We don't know.
Well, then they don't need any information out of him.
I mean, we don't know, but he might have. I mean, he's very smart. He took down the Avengers. He's just a dude, and he took down the Avengers.
All right. Well, if he has information that they need, my stance on it is, I don't give a shit. If your reason for putting somebody in prison is so we can get more information out of them, that's not a good enough reason.
Okay.
Needing information out of somebody is not a reason for anything.
Okay.
You should never do anything because we needed information out of them. That should not be an excuse for anything.
All right.
It's either we're going to ask you for this information, and you're either going to give us the information, or you're not going to give us the information. Like, what you are insinuating is that they would torture him for the information.
No, I don't want them to torture him.
Then what would you want them to do?
I guess.
How is it? What could they do that T'Chaka couldn't just do in that moment?
I mean, I guess my answer would be put him in prison.
Yeah, which is absolutely not what I would have done. No way. I am for abolishment of prisons.
Yeah,
absolutely not.
I will say that's 100% what I would have done.
Yeah, I would have equally distrusted you.
Yeah, I get it.
I just cannot stand by that. It's extremely fucked up. Like, it is. It's a media, so I give the characters leeway. But if it was real life, like, to me, that putting Zemo in prison is worse than everything Tony has done.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, prisons and putting somebody in prison is definitely one of the biggest things that I, like, you know, hold as a moral thing. Like, if you put somebody in prison, I don't think you can call yourself a morally good person in any way. Like, 0%.
Okay.
I just don't see how it would be possible. So, but I mean, it's media. I give media leeway as being, you know, media. I don't hate T'Challa more than I hate Tony. I distrust him a lot, but I don't hate him as much as I hate Tony.
Sure.
If he was a real person, I would. But he's a character, and I give characters more leeway.
And to be fair, we haven't really had this problem. We haven't had this come up in the movies at all besides Abomination.
Yeah. And Abomination was the government. Not them, not S.H.I.E.L.D.
S.H.I.E.L.D.'s not part of this either.
But I'm saying, like, it wasn't the Avengers. It wasn't S.H.I.E.L.D. It wasn't, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, like, this was T'Challa. T'Challa literally said, I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to give you over to the government. Like, it's not like the Bruce Banner was like, I'm not going to kill you, I'll give you over to the government. He was just like, I'm not going to kill you because this woman is what. It was a weird, that's stupid alter. I mean, Hulk absolutely should have killed Abomination. But, yeah, I mean, that was a, like, just, I'm just not going to kill this person, I'm just going to run away.
Okay.
still, you know, pretty fucked up thing to do, but I don't like Bruce Banner either, so, you know, not a great example, because I also think Bruce Banner's a bad person.
All right. So, how close do you think Baron Zemo is to the Punisher in terms of story arc?
Not much.
I mean, he's a soldier. His family gets killed. He goes after the people who he believes killed his family.
Yeah, but they did kill his family. I mean, basically. And it also wasn't a, like... I mean, I can see the similarities, but I just don't think that it's quite on the same level.
Like, in which direction?
And in terms of, like, the Punisher's definitely way more justified, you know, in what he was doing. Like, he was set up. It was...
Sure.
It was purposeful. This was accidental. So, I mean, yeah, I don't really think it's... Right. I can see why you're bringing that up, but I don't think it's character-wise. I don't think they're on the same arcs.
Okay.
I think it is no, I don't even think it's a showing of like something similar can happen to two people and they can end up differently. Because now the way it happens is just so different.
Sure.
But yeah, I think the Punisher is, you know, I mean, this guy's sympathetic as well, but
yeah, and I do think like it's interesting that the Punisher has, you know, like he has a brain disorder, but at the same time, you know, he is all in on the idea of he doesn't give a shit. Like, he wants to kill these people no matter what. And after they're gone, he wants to continue.
Yeah.
Whereas with Baron Zemo, he very clearly knows what he's doing is wrong. Like, there are multiple times in the movie in which he points out, like, this would be very bad. I don't want to do it, but I will do it. Like, it is a situation of, you know, getting my revenge supersedes everything else in the world.
Which is, again, it's the... I like the supervillains like that, like Jai Yang from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., or, I'm sure there's another one that I just can't think of off the top of my head. But the ones where it's like, you know, their goals, if they were to succeed, would benefit the world, but, you know, it costs too many innocent lives. Like, Zemo's killed too many innocent people for me to be like, you know, oh, yeah, he didn't do anything wrong, you know. But, you know, would killing the Avengers make the world a better place? Probably, but at the same time, there's plenty of Avengers that don't deserve to be killed, you know. Just, you know, it's a ultimate way to go about it, as opposed to just like, sure, if the Avengers weren't around, the world would probably be a better place, but...
Plus, I do need, especially after the conversation we just had, I need to point out, he did not want to kill any of the Avengers.
Well, he wanted them to kill each other.
No, even then. He wanted to destroy the Avengers. Like, the Avengers as a concept. He wanted that to fall apart. He did not want to kill anyone.
But he did want Tony and Cap to kill each other.
I mean, sure, but, like, the end goal was not Tony and Cap kill each other. He won in the end, not because they killed each other, but because the Avengers, the thing he wanted to destroy, no longer exists.
Sure,
or, you know, it doesn't exist the way it was before.
But he did specifically say that he wanted Cap and Tony to kill each other.
Right. Yeah, but, like...
What?
Like, Tony and Cap, you know, wanting them to kill each other does not necessitate the idea that, you know, what he wanted to do was have the Avengers kill themselves, or kill each other.
Sure. That's why I stepped it back to just Cap and Tony.
And, like, I do see that as a means to an end. Like, having them kill each other would not be... The end goal is not, he wants the people... He does not want Tony and Steve to physically die. He wants the Avengers to fall apart, and them killing each other would cause the Avengers to fall apart.
Sure. I guess I can kind of see where you're going with that, but yeah, I see where you're going.
Yeah, and like he also kills all the Winter Soldiers. Good.
But either way, still, Tony and Cap did not deserve to die. So, well, Cap did not deserve to die. Tony, arguable. But so yeah, still, I can't really, like, you know, can't really say much about, like, I can't root for that, you know.
Sure.
He wants innocent, or he doesn't want, but he causes innocent people to die, so you can't really root for that. And I mean, I do want the Avengers, or like, I do want Cap to be still, which I guess that is successful. If he, I guess it's unclear if he wants Cap to just not be out there doing stuff anymore, or if he just didn't want Cap to be in the Avengers out there doing stuff anymore.
Yeah. Because, you know, even with the state of the movie at the end, where Cap is out there with a faction doing stuff, Tony is, you know, restrained by the government doing stuff, Cap cannot do anything that the Avengers did. Like, he doesn't have any money.
Sure, yeah.
Like, he can still be a hero, but he cannot do Avengers level things anymore.
Like, what would Cap need money to do?
Like if a city's being bombed, he can't evacuate people.
Sure.
Like he would have to call someone else, or like even call 911 and say this is happening. He cannot physically call in like robots or anything.
Yeah, but I mean, Sokovia, them being the Avengers, didn't help that in any way.
I mean, they did rescue a lot of people through. I mean,
yeah, but they did the same thing that Cap would have had to have done. Like they had to run around and say to Tom, to Jerry, to Carl, to Steve, hey, you gotta evacuate. You know, they just had to go up to random people and just be like, leave. You know?
True.
And half the time it wasn't even it. Like Quicksilver had to just start firing guns. Like them being the Avengers and having money didn't really help with evacuation that much.
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing that helped was the helicarrier, which was also not the Avengers.
Yeah. Yeah. And it also, like, was created without any money. Apparently. I mean, like, I don't know where the fuck S.H.I.E.L.D. gets its money from. I have absolutely no idea where the fuck S.H.I.E.L.D. gets money. Or if they're just constantly stealing money. Like, that's the only way S.H.I.E.L.D. is able to function is that they are constantly stealing money at this point.
Which is also, like, as someone who did not follow S.H.I.E.L.D. while the movies were coming out, when I did assume that was just Nick Fury personally putting together this helicarrier and then flying it over.
No.
Which is even more no money than S.H.I.E.L.D. doing it.
No, I mean, S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hydra both love to do the, by the way, we have had this secret other HQ that has had hundreds of people in it and so much, like, machinery and just, like, this would be billions of dollars of stuff. And it's just been here the whole time. You've never known about it. Not even other people in S.H.I.E.L.D. know about it. They also dropped a line a while back about, like, you know, oh, every agent in S.H.I.E.L.D. has a hideout somewhere. And it's like, why is there so many fucking hideouts? Just a hideout everywhere. But, yeah, what else you got?
Not part of that, but I do also want to say that, what scene was it? There's definitely a scene when Bucky was hiding out and he pulls out a gun. He does pull it out from a box that was labeled, Natasha, implying that he did find one of her hideouts, because of course every S.H.I.E.L.D. agent has hideouts all over the place, and he did find one of hers and steal the stuff from it.
That's funny. That's great.
Fair amount of detail in those things, like he's buying Plums at one point. Plums help with Alzheimer's.
Oh, okay.
He's got the big backpack full of files that are presumably, you know, like all the notes and stuff he's taking of who Bucky is.
Yeah.
He's trying to figure out what am I.
Yeah.
Yeah. Zemo, by the way, very unlike his comic book counterparts.
Sure, understandable.
Yeah, like his comic book counterpart is Baron Zemo. Immediate change in how you feel.
Oh, yeah.
Character. Yeah. He's mostly known for wearing this big purple balaclava that's permanently stuck on his face. And he works with Hydra.
Yeah. Not even. I want to. You know, I am gonna ask. Why is it permanently stuck on his face? Let's go down this rabbit hole.
He was fighting Cap at one point, and they were fighting in a warehouse with some binding agents that can't be destroyed.
Okay.
Or rather, the binding agent, the way to destroy it was found like the 2000s.
Okay.
So, for the longest time, he's just had it stuck on his face permanently.
Gotcha.
The only thing they really adapted directly from him is the fact that he is, like, a villain who does actually win against Cap repeatedly. Like, he's a very smart tactician. He doesn't really have powers.
Yeah.
So, the main thing they took was just, what if there was a guy who could beat Cap and take down the Avengers?
It was cool, though. I liked it.
And
Baron does, you know, fit from all what I've seen of the other Barons. Like, yeah, it fits for him. They are the very hands-off, you know, tactician people.
Yeah. And I really like the vibe of him in this movie as, like, he's not affiliated with anyone. He is he has intelligence information because he used to be part of the Sokovian government.
Yeah.
But he is just a lone agent fighting on his own. And right at the very end, when you think, like, oh, okay, the plan, like, the reason he's going to be a supervillain is that he's going to have all the Winter Soldiers.
Yeah.
Does not happen at all. He kills all of them before they can get there.
Love that.
Like, he is such a strange, like, such a weird, different villain for something like the MCU, let alone, like, superhero stuff in general.
Yeah. When he was first being introduced, I was like, okay, here is our third-party person that is not connected to anything, and I don't really know much about him. But then, with how much he knew about the Hydra stuff, I was like, okay, so I guess they are going for he's a Hydra soldier that was, like, an ex-Hydra soldier that wants Bucky for his own now. But I did think for the vast majority of the movie that he was with Hydra.
Okay. Which makes complete sense.
Yeah, I think they did a really good job of that. You know, it was so obvious what they were doing with his character, and the tiny little thing of just like not telling us where he's getting this information from made me like took me off of the track.
Yeah. So, not a whole lot else I really wanted to bring up. I mean, the big one is that this is a movie about vengeance, which we have not really done for the Avengers. Like this is the big flip. This is, up until this point, the Avengers have been the Avengers because bad thing happens, they react to it. Like they do not attack first.
Yeah.
This is the first time when someone else has now reacted to them. Like this is now the cycle of hatred. They do this thing, they walk away, they go home, and then the people left behind have a valid, a reason to fight them again.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on how you consider Ultron. Because, like, Ultron, kind of, not really, like, they didn't really create him, but, and then you have he was going after them because they were the Avengers. True. Like, not even because you made me, but, like, just because I looked at all the information in the world and was like, oh, the Avengers are the bad ones.
True. I see that as different because he's not really taking revenge in any way.
I mean, he's taking revenge for Earth.
Sure.
For humanity.
Okay, I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like, I think the reason I'm pushing against that is because he also has this big, like, love of the dinosaurs and of the meteor. Like, I saw him as less of a, like, force of the Earth, like, less of a reckoning there, and more of a, like, a third party. Like, he was not directly affected by anything, but he's the one who was like, man, I want to be the meteor.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. Mm-hmm. But also I will say, Avengers 1, also kind of a little bit of vengeance sort of thing with Loki and Thor.
True.
Like, he specifically was doing Earth, I assume because of Thor, right? I don't think that Thanos specifically said, I need Earth. Like, I'm sure Thanos was just like, get me a planet.
Well, he did specifically want the Tesseracts.
Right. But the whole taking over the planet.
Yeah, taking over the planet was definitely a Loki thing.
That was a Loki thing.
Yeah, Thanos just presumably said, like, I'll give you the story, get me the stone.
Yeah, he wanted the Tesseract.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was basically a vengeance thing.
Okay.
That was a, fuck you, Thor, I know you like this planet, so it's mine now.
Never mind that. I will give it to you. There has been vengeance in all of the Avengers movies up to this point.
Yeah.
Like, this is much more of a theme, and there are way more people who individually are, like, seeking vengeance.
Yeah. And to be fair, that one is not a vengeance against the Avengers. Sure. That is a vengeance against Thor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where else do you want to go?
Got the big font anytime a place shows up.
Oh, yeah. That was kind of weird to me. Mm-hmm. Wasn't expecting that.
Yeah. The idea behind it is that, first of all, it emphasizes the scale of the movie.
Yeah, it definitely does.
And then also, the idea behind it is you don't really need to know what country this place is in. Like, if you know it, you know it. If you don't, do you really care? Does it really help if I say, this place is in America, like Queens, America, or Queens, New York? Like, it may help for some people, but it was the decision of, like, we're going to really minimalize it. Like, it's just Queens, Lagos.
Yeah. Honestly, I am more a fan of just using the country thing, even if you were going back to the U.S., just saying U.S. or America or something. But I totally get the want for using the cities instead.
Yeah.
Especially when they cut around from the cities in America so much.
Mm-hmm. And the one that really sold it for me was Queens, because, I mean, it's a big, like, Marvel thing of, if it's Queens, it's definitely Spider-Man.
Okay.
Like, Queens, I wouldn't say Queens is his Hell's Kitchen, because Spidey does go around all of New York.
He's just mostly known for Queens.
Yeah, and, like, that's where he physically, that's where he grew up. It's his batting grounds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, what else we got, man? It's getting so goddamn hot in here.
So, that's basically all I have to say about the movie itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have some questions there at the end?
Yeah.
Let's go over those before we do the comic talk.
Sure. So, what side, like, if Banner and Thor were both just kind of, like, show up in the middle, or, like, during the airport fights, like, where do you think both of them would be?
I mean, I think it's extremely obvious where Thor would be. I cannot imagine Thor being like, yes, I will sign these documents for your UN council to look over me in Asgard. Thor would be 100. Thor would be, where's this UN council? I'm going to go kick their ass. Whereas Banner, I think, would I mean, he would also be on the not signing it side.
Right. It's
But I can't imagine him. I imagine him saying, "Here's the Sokovia Accords," and him saying, "Bye," and just leaving again, and just turning into Hulk and busting out the fucking wall.
yeah.
Like, he wouldn't even go around with the "should we sign?" He's just like, "All right, I'm out. You know, done, done. Bye bye."
Yeah.
You know, once I just said that about Thor, I was like, I guess that's kind of why they didn't have Thor in this movie, because he would probably just be real pissed and just kill everybody. I don't know if he would kill him, but he would definitely send some lightning to the fucking UN.
Yeah. It was definitely a big thing in the comics that, like, Thor and Hulk were both not around during it. And if either of them had been there, most people, like, in universe, most people looking back upon this historical event said, you know, the Civil War would not have happened if either of them were around.
Yeah.
Because Banner, too strong and too, like, you know, wants to be left alone, knows the price of government experimentation, and Thor he's Thor.
Yeah.
Well, it's partially he's Thor, and partially, like, in the comics, he's also much better friends with Captain Steve, or with Steve and Tony.
Gotcha.
So he would have most likely also told them both to calm down.
Yeah.
Like, let's actually talk about this one. Do you think it was ever okay for the Avengers, and by the Avengers I mean, like, what they were in Age of Ultron? I'd say it's peak Avengers when I think of them.
Yeah.
Like, do you think it was ever morally okay for them as a paramilitary group funded by a billionaire to just go to other countries and kill people?
Yeah, absolutely not. Like, that has been the big problem, is that they are a group and they're not individuals.
Yeah. And I do remember around the time, you also just kind of assumed they're still working with S.H.I.E.L.D. on some level, because they gotta be working with the government, right? It can't just be, they're some dudes.
Yeah, like, I mean, it doesn't make any sense for... Even if Tony is Tony, like, it's just they have to be working with the government in some way.
Yeah.
And so, like, yeah, the government let them do it, you know? The government would certainly fucking try and stop them if they wanted to. Government's got no qualms about that.
True.
So, you know... but yeah, so yeah, pretty fucked up, obviously. Pretty fucked up in retrospect, and hopefully, you know, now there's individuals, it's a lot better.
Yeah. Final question. Should people kill if they don't want to, if the alternative is sending them into a system of rehabilitation that does not work? Like, I'm saying this specifically of people who do not want to kill. Like your Jessica Jones, your Luke Cage.
Well, I mean, I think the problem with this is that we don't have a system of rehabilitation that doesn't work. We have a prison which is not even rehabilitation.
I mean, on paper, a lot of prisons are rehabilitation.
On paper, okay. But in real life, there's no rehabilitating being done. The rehabilitation is either yourself or nobody. Like, they're not, you know, there's no rehabilitation program. It's just, we're going to put you in this prison and hopefully you'll rehabilitate yourself.
Okay.
So that doesn't count.
Okay.
So, if we had rehabilitation, you know, places, even if they didn't, you know, and that's the thing, like, even if they didn't work,
right,
that's when you run into a problem there. Like, I don't know, because I don't have an example of what that even looks like of a rehabilitation program.
I mean,
that doesn't work.
like, okay, like Luke Cage, for instance. Luke was sent to the, not the raft, you know, to the island prison.
Sure.
That was a system that was strictly set up for rehabilitation. Like, they had the therapy and all that. And we know for a fact it doesn't work because they have the fighting ring. Like, that's what they're actually supposed to be funneled to.
Yes, but it's not like that was...
So, like, is that better or worse than just killing Luke?
Again, I would not call that a rehabilitation thing because it is not a... If we can rehabilitate you, you will get out of this prison. It's still a sentence they have to do, no matter what.
Okay.
That's not rehabilitation. So, I would not call that rehabilitation. I would call that saying you're rehabilitating them, but not trying to at all.
Okay, how about Hurley from Lost? Like, he was voluntarily checking himself into a rehabilitation center because he thought he was crazy, but he was not crazy. So rehabilitation would have never worked.
Sure. That, again, was himself, but...
Yeah.
Again, I'm either way. Let's just pretend that there is a rehabilitation center
and he
that doesn't work.
And he did commit crimes. He did, like, you know, smash cars and stuff.
Yeah. Now, what is a rehabilitation center? Like, is this more like a prison, or is this more like a rehab center?
More like rehab. More like exactly where Hurley was. Exactly where Hurley was.
Okay. Then, Yeah, I would say they have. It's not their. They don't. They shouldn't have to kill anybody.
Okay.
You just put them in that rehabilitation center.
Even though they know it's not going to work.
Yeah, because if the person in that rehabilitation center is, like, if they go through it enough to realize it doesn't work, they could just break out.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think I'm fine with that.
All right. Or I mean, like with Hurley, he would just leave. Like,
Sure.
he signed himself in. He could sign himself out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a whole situation with
Yeah.
that and everything.
Mhm.
But also, we're talking about Lost, by the way.
If you were watching Civil War, you've seen Lost. I didn't, but everyone else probably did. It's fine.
But I mean, I should mention that. But I'm like, was there a character named Hurley that in the MCU that I forgot about?
But yeah.
But no. So yeah, in a situation like that where they could leave if they wanted to.
Okay.
Then, yeah.
Hmm.
But
Yeah. Because, like, Bucky, for instance, is in a weird situation in which he did consent to get frozen, but once he's frozen, he can't unfreeze himself.
yeah.
But theoretically, like, if they try to fix his brain, doesn't work, he could still say, I allowed myself to be here, I would like to leave.
yeah. But also, yeah, that is a much. There's been a thing bringing up in S.H.I.E.L.D. with the Inhumans. It's like, oh, well, so many humans don't want their powers, which it's a whole thing. Well, I talked about it, whatever.
Uh-huh.
No Inhuman doesn't want their powers that hasn't gone through their powers without other Inhumans. It's a very specific problem that everybody keeps bringing up as all humans, but it's not. Anyway, the ATCU would throw them in these tanks that were like stasis tanks, but you still they still needed to feed. Like, they had feeding tubes and stuff like that, and stuff to be able to take away your waste and stuff like that. So like clearly you are still alive inside there. It's just that it's slowing your body down and your mind down to a point where you're slowing the aging process until they get a cure for the Inhumans.
Sure.
But this is much different because it is like Bucky just saying like, yeah, I'm just gonna take a quick nap real quick, and when I wake up, you guys will have the cure for me.
Yeah.
As opposed to in the ATCU tanks, assumingly, I'm going to go in this tank and just my mind is going to be active, and I'm just going to be in here for who knows how fucking long against my will. Even if it was, consenting, it is still. You are just being trapped in this stasis where your mind is active the whole time. And it just seems awful. Whereas, if we have this technology, let's use this technology.
I mean, to be fair, we don't. Wakanda does.
Yeah, Wakanda does, but, Tony definitely probably has this technology. Tony's gotta have this technology. But yeah, so I think that's covered that question thoroughly enough.
Alright. So I guess the final thing I wanted to do was talk a bit about the comics.
Alright, let's get into it.
Because, so the comics proposed a Superhuman Registration Act, which was an outright, it was a direct statement of, if you have powers, or if you have the ability to make powers, it's like Iron Man would count. Like, he is someone who, if you lock him in a cave, he can make an Iron Man armor, as he did in Iron Man 1.
Yeah.
So, anyone like that, anyone who is above a normal human being, needs to register with America, anyone in America, I should say, needs to register with the American government.
So it's a specifically American thing.
Yeah. Because
Makes
there are other countries, I will say, Canada had a superhuman registration long before this.
Okay.
And so a lot of, American mutants and stuff did go to Canada temporarily because they were like, well, I'm already registered here, and I trust this government, which hasn't really done a whole lot compared to the American government.
Yeah, fair.
But basically, you have to register as a human weapon of mass destruction.
Jesus Christ.
You gotta reveal your true identity, and then undergo some level of training. And then after that point, you can choose to either just live as a normal person, in which case you're treated like a person who has a gun, essentially. Like you are open carrying or concealed carrying.
It doesn't really feel like that. It feels more like the Jewish Star.
I mean, you don't have to have a card that says, "Hello, I'm a human weapon of mass destruction."
That's what it feels like. Like that's what it was, being framed as.
No, just only the government knows.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still, would not want the government to know that, but.
And then once you're registered, you can also choose to become a member of the 50 States Avengers Initiative, in which case no superheroes are allowed anymore. You have to be part of one of these teams, or you can't use your powers as you can't use them.
Okay.
Yeah. So either you live like a normal person, you don't use them unless if you're being shot or something, then it's self-defense, and it's treated as if you had a gun.
Is this how it currently is in the comics?
No.
Okay.
It got repealed in the comics.
Good.
But
Thank God.
But this is how it was for a while.
God damn.
So, also, before the act passed, S.H.I.E.L.D. did employ a bunch of cape killers to go and kill people who, like, said on, like, Facebook and stuff, I'm not going to support this bill, you shouldn't either.
Yeah. No, unsurprised. Super unsurprised.
So, that was all happening. A villain named Nitro, who basically has the power to make himself explode, made himself explode while he was fighting a group of teenagers.
Okay.
Blows up a school, blows up like a pipeline, kills like 600 people.
Jesus.
And then that's what really like causes the divide. Like that's the point at which Tony in the comics says, I have to support this. Like, this is real messed up. I want everyone to register.
What does that have to do with superpowers?
Like, he's a person with superpowers.
Yeah, but it could have just been a dude with a bomb.
I mean, it was partially that, and partially that he was fighting a team of, like, teenage superheroes who were, like, filming a reality show.
Okay.
Like, they were doing, like, it was similar to the movie in which, in the sense of, like, it's like, you know, Cap not noticing the bomb. Except in this case, it is a bunch of teenagers fucking around and not, like, taking out the guy that they know can explode and kill everyone.
Wait, so they did know?
Oh, yeah, they knew the guy
So
could
it
explode.
was their fault?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I mean, you're just making it seem like a dude just walked up and was fighting them and then blew himself up.
Fair points.
But yeah, I mean, if they were just like, hey, look, this dude is a walking nuke and we're just going to not kill him.
Yeah.
Like, well, not even that, but like, he's a walking nuke and he's specifically coming to blow us up and we're just going to let it happen. Like, yeah, that's a real, you know, shitty situation.
Like, it was that environment of the rules around super teams are very lax and like they don't really exist. Like they are all vigilantes, but we have just decided as America that this is fine.
Yeah, like I mean that is definitely, to be fair though, more a case for not having the act whatever it was, because then you would have somebody else who would have been able to stop him.
Right. It's
like if you have the same situation would have occurred otherwise.
True. I guess the thing is that, you know, they were just some teens messing around, as opposed to, like, a group registered by the government. Like, the act was in progress, but it was not initiated. They were not government superheroes. They're just teenagers.
Right. But, I guess I just don't see how them being government people would be, because wouldn't the same situation happen? Wouldn't it play out the exact same, if not even more?
Like, presumably, if they are the government team and they're doing this as a job, then they would do it properly. Like, they would actually take down the person instead of fucking around.
Okay, I guess, yeah, I would probably have to read this, because I am probably have a much different vision of what you're describing than you do.
Right. It's...
Like, in my, what I thought you were describing was, these people are filming a reality TV show.
Yeah.
This guy walks up and he says, like, hey, I'm gonna fight you. And then they're like, we're filming a TV show, and he's like, well, I'm gonna blow up. And they're like, okay, and then he blows up. Like, is that not what happens?
No. Like, they were actively antagonizing him and fighting him.
Okay.
And they knew...
But they were antagonizing him?
Oh, yeah. And they knew he was, like, he could blow up, but they didn't think he would.
Okay.
Like,
so yeah, this is 100%... Even if they were government agents, this is probably so much worse. I definitely don't trust government agents to not antagonize that guy.
Fair points.
Especially if they, like you said, they have to go through, like, training with their powers and all that. Like, yeah, absolutely. If they're being trained by the government, they are absolutely going to be being trained to antagonize this guy and make sure he explodes and kills people.
It's the cop problem.
Yeah, I mean, like, if they're getting trained by the government, they're not going to be getting trained good. They're going to be getting trained to do evil.
I mean, you're not quite wrong, because naturally, the pro-registration side did set up a concentration camp in another dimension. To put all
one... What a line! They set up a concentration camp in another dimension.
Yeah. Specifically,
is that what the dead zone is in Dragon Ball?
No. Though this is the negative zone, which is, it sounds a little like the dead zone. But yeah, so Cap is on the pro, like, let's make it only government heroes. Let's put everyone else in the concentration camps side. He does get Spider-Man on his side early on, before Spidey knows about any of this.
Okay.
Like, Spidey sees it as just a, like, I don't want kids fucking around and punching people who can explode until they explode. So, like, he, like, reveals his secret identity on television. Because he is Spider-Man, he's the one everyone loves. He also convinces a lot of people to join the pro registration side.
Okay.
But then he also gets, like, an Iron Spidey suit, which is super, like, techie and cool. But then he learns about the gulags, and he's like, oh shit. Never mind, the Cap's right.
It's also, the way you were describing this originally, I thought it was way more like, you know, because we have people that can explode, we need to have this act. As opposed to, like, it is way more like, what if there was just a dude walking around with, like, a suicide bomb vest, but he didn't want it on it. It's just like, you know, it's accidentally stuck on him for some reason. And there's just a bunch of kids with guns shooting at him.
I guess it comes down to the idea of, like, there are too many people who have suicide vests. And some of them are just walking around. Some of them are actively walking into banks and saying, I'm going to blow myself up if you don't give me the money. And some people are like, well, I'm a hero, but I don't know when I need to explode. But I will. I just want to do it at the right time.
But I mean, none of those problems came up. This seems to be the one problem that they came that they were making the big event.
Yeah, like, this is definitely the inciting incident. But, like, you know.
I mean, honestly, though, I am surprised at how, like, how positive that message is, or how political that message is. Like, it seems very, like, you know, 9/11 was our fault. Like, you know, these kids are shooting at this fucking dude with the suicide. It is the, like, we antagonize the bombers.
I mean, I will say, it was very political, and I think a big part of it that you can't do in literally any other medium is the fact that though there was a main writer writing, like, the mainline Civil War series, there were tons and tons of comics that tied into it, and, like, other, like, sideline things. And Marvel did not say, this is the right side and this is the wrong side. They did just say, like, this is pro-registration, this is anti-registration. And then both sides, like, there were tons of people just writing stories about both sides. So there were a lot of people who were like, yeah, the gulags are correct. Like, I politically agree with this. And so I'm going to write the story in which this does, like, you know, it is factually still a concentration camp. I'm going to try and make it make sense because I do believe in this in real life.
I honestly, to be fair, that's something I really don't like. I'm realizing more and more that, like, I don't think you can have a good series where you don't pick a side.
Yeah, I can understand that.
And I think the better the series is, like, the stronger you pick a side, the better the series is in general. Honestly, even if it's like a super hardcore conservative thing and I fucking hate it, at least they had the balls to go all in. You know, it might be like a terrible thing or whatever, but I would much rather them go all in than do a, you know, both sides might be right. Because honestly, I think that does more damage to the world than, you know, a super hard, like, right-wing message would be.
I mean,
which is half the MCU.
Which I would also say, this is not exactly both sides are right. It is my side is right and my side is right. It's like, I think that's fundamentally different. Like, that's something you can't do in any other medium, because it is all these people writing about one event, but they all have different ideas of what the event is. Like, it is more like news than it is.
But it is like, these people are not doing that, but Marvel is doing the both sides are right. They know what they're doing.
Oh,
and it's the same thing SNL, like, you know, hiring conservatives to, you know.
Yeah.
It's the same sort of thing.
And it did get very muddy because, like, you know, you can't do that and have all of it be a good fiction or have it all line up perfectly, because if one side is saying this is a concentration camp, the other side is saying no, it isn't, it's a restraint camp where we only put people there when they deserve it. Like, there's going to be some differences there.
Yeah.
So, like, I really like it as a concept, but I will also admit it's not, like, it has its problems.
It's unique.
Yeah.
It's unique, not good.
It is the most event-like event I think I've seen in Marvel for, like, how do I put this? Like, a lot of events are big, but they're also very focused in one direction. It is like, you know, this is the story we're telling, but we're telling it from a bunch of different perspectives.
Okay.
Whereas this was an example of, this is a thing that is happening, but we don't actually know, like, we don't have a direct thing of this is the meta-narrative. Until the end. Like, in hindsight, it's very clear this was fascist. Like, this is a fascist ideology, and it was bad.
To be fair, Shield is doing the same thing. Like, Shield feels so like it doesn't understand the MCU, and I'm gonna be again very curious to see where Shield goes after this movie because we did the thing again where this movie really feels very anti-Shield, and then we're gonna go with the Shield, and they're gonna go, now guys, another movie just happened, but actually. Cap was wrong. That's really what Shield is. Shield just keeps going. Cap was fucking wrong, man. Cap is the most morally fucked up person ever. We need to do what we gotta do. Cap ain't letting us do it. But, yeah, I mean, very, very curious to see where we're gonna be going with Shield after this movie. Because, again, it really feels like the oopsie, we didn't know where Civil War was going. We thought Civil War was going to be the Tony side. Oops.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not watching S.H.I.E.L.D., but I am very interested to lay down after you're done watching S.H.I.E.L.D. and talk to you about it. I do find it fascinating.
Anything else you want to bring up with the comic stuff?
Most of that, I do think the comic was touching more on what you thought the series was going to do with Civil War. And by the series, I mean like the MCU as a whole.
Yeah.
Because it was much more about powered people as a whole. And the question of, it wasn't like powered people versus not powered people, but it was more the question of, like, should we treat these people like people who own guns or people who are guns?
Yeah.
Like, are they individual, like, is this just a dangerous person who is a danger by virtue of existing? Or should people be allowed to be free and, you know, make their choices, and then we treat them as if, you know, they just are more dangerous, if they are acting more dangerous?
I have been saying for the longest time that, like, no character in the MCU that is human has been, or even inhuman, well, they're human as well, but, any character that is human has not been more dangerous than any other non-powered human.
Okay.
In a situation where both characters are unarmed, sure, but like that is the situation everybody puts them in. Everybody puts them in a like, well, what if this person suddenly turned evil? Like that's always the situation. It's the same situation as just saying I don't like my friend because he could have a gun.
Right.
You know, it's such a stupid, you know, like. Where I remember one of the statements like, "Oh yeah, they could just like punch a hole in a plane." And it's like somebody could just open the door of a plane.
Right.
Like, what are you talking about? There's so many. Or like the bomb thing is a good example. Or you know, even somebody that can shoot lasers out of their hands. It's like somebody could just get a big gun.
I mean, I do think it is notable that
it'd be a different conversation if it was a different country. But it's America. This is taking place in America.
Right. And I mean, I do think it is interesting that between, you know, the comics and the movies, they replaced the character who is powered but, you know, can explode with just a guy who had a suicide vest for the same inciting incident of, you know, like, big things that happened. Like, they're called the Sokovia Accords. Yeah. The Accords are being put together because of Sokovia, but they're being sped up because of this guy who exploded, because of Crossbones. I do find it really interesting that, as a statement, the movie went with, it's not a powered person who did this. Yeah. Like, it is, a powered person was involved in, you know, him ending up in the building. But fundamentally, this is just a guy exploding.
Yeah. And the only people who legitimately are, you know, more powerful than or more dangerous than a normal person are the ones who are not powered. Like, so there's not really much of a, you know, the thing to do, like, you know, like Tony, Scott, who else? Rhodes, Sam, yeah, like, I mean, Parker has a suit too, but he has powers himself as well.
Yeah.
You know, Romanoff's not more dangerous than an average person, but
sure.
Yeah. Neither is Clint. But
I mean, I feel like Hulk and Thor really tipped the balance on this one, though.
Sure, Hulk is Hulk is
the most dangerous.
Thor is not a human though.
Yeah, Thor's not human.
I'm specifically talking about humans, which is also why I didn't say Vision.
Sure.
But
you're right.
Yeah. With you just said it.
Hulk.
Yeah, with Hulk, that is a that's a bit different. That's a little bit different.
And I do think like a big part of Thunderbolt Ross's like portrayal in this movie is he treats the Avengers like they are the Hulk.
Yeah.
Like, he sees them as literally, like, you are the monster that I've seen do good things, but at the same time, like, I can't, as a military man, trust you to keep doing good things.
Yeah.
Like, I need to have some sort of restraint on you.
But, yeah, the Hulk definitely is, I mean, still an example of, like, but the only reason why you would need to do anything about the Hulk is if you hate the Hulk for being the Hulk. But, you know, Bruce Banner has the Hulk under control. He can control it. There's no problem with the Hulk anymore. So, like, originally, maybe. But even then, it was only a when I'm angry situation. And, like, it was a bad situation. But it's not like the Hulk was killing, you know, tons of people or anything. Like, you might call it some property damage, but I don't give a fuck about property damage. Yeah, so, like, the Hulk is another situation of, like, well, you know, like, okay, what if someone, like, who has, like, AIDS, right? That's a fatally transmittable disease.
Okay.
Right? That is something that you can easily kill somebody. But it's not like well, we have to lock them up because they have AIDS. I mean, it's such a distinct difference.
Sure, of course.
But it is you know, just because someone has the ability to easily kill somebody does not mean that, you know, they should be locked up. Like, the Hulk should be judged as Bruce Banner.
Sure, yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And so that's where I fall on that. But I do see what you're saying is like, yeah, the Hulk is more dangerous than ever. There's no gun that can take out the Hulk or anything like that. There's no, yeah. Luke Cage as well, actually.
Okay.
Luke Cage is the only other person who is more powerful or more dangerous than an average. I don't want to say more powerful. More powerful is not the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
More dangerous is the word I'm looking for. But yeah. And yeah, I don't think Hulk is more dangerous than the average person. It is just, if you're gonna antagonize him, then yeah. But, like, again, if you're gonna antagonize someone with a gun, they're gonna probably shoot you too. I mean, hopefully not. But, like, the idea of, like, if this is both similar people who are like, oh, if you make me too angry, I'm gonna pull out my gun. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. I shoot.
What a simile.
But you get my point.
Yeah, I do.
I guess more like a bipolar person would be like someone who has extreme uncontrollable bipolar.
Yeah.
Like, not like an average bipolar person, but if there was an extremely bipolar person who also carried around a gun, they would probably be as dangerous as the Hulk.
Okay.
Because it's like, is the Hulk more powerful? Yes. But is he more dangerous? I mean, it's just going to also kill you. They're both going to kill you. Once you're dead, you're dead. Lethal is lethal. I guess that's what I'm getting at. They act like, you know... Yeah, I mean, it is the, like, you know, oh, well, they can kill a bunch of people. But it's like, you didn't get a machine gun, you could kill a bunch of people. There's always an equivalent, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
There's no excuse. There's always an equivalent.
Alright.
Aliens is different. I get it. Aliens is different. Aliens is weirds. Gotta figure out aliens. But aside from aliens, I don't have a good answer for aliens either. I don't fucking know. You know? I don't know. But, it is a problem.
Okay.
I mean, it's not a problem, but it's not a problem right now, but I can see how it could be a problem in the future. Right now, we don't have to worry about that many evil alien criminals because we have, like, 2 aliens, and one of them's not even here. Well, I guess we have, like, 3 if you count the other Asgardian dude who's on Earth somewhere. Yeah.
Alright, so, what do you think Cap's, like, what do you think Cap's team is going to do next? Like, do you think they're going to show up in any of the later movies?
We got Black Panther. Black Panther seems like he's on Cap's side, though. Like, he seems like he's swapped over to Cap now. So I don't know what to think about that. But, Black Panther's probably going to be him by himself. Nobody else.
Okay.
Then we have Thor's going to be him by himself. Then we have Doctor Strange, which is going to be probably him by himself. Guardians, then by themselves. Spider-Man, maybe get some people back together again.
Okay.
When does Spider-Man happen in this?
So it goes Black Panther, then Doctor Strange, then Spider-Man, then Thor.
Okay, so Spider-Man might get them together to do something. Ant-Man and the Wasp, then they'll probably come together again a bit. And, like, you know, a couple people. Not all of the Avengers. And I don't think we're going to have all the Avengers, except for, like, 1 or 2, come together again, you know, at all in any of the movies.
Okay.
Maybe another Cat movie in, like, Phase 4 or something, maybe, but I don't know. But, yeah, so that's my guess. That it's probably going to be, they're only going to come together for, like, maybe Spider-Man Homecoming. And when I mean come together, I mean, like, a Cap's team.
Sure.
Well, no, not Spider-Man, because that makes sense. So I guess just Ant-Man and the Wasp. Cap's team might come together for Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Okay.
Or a couple people from it.
Hmm. And then Tony's team? / the people on Tony's team?
We might see Tony in Spider-Man Homecoming, but I think that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think is going on with the Hulk? Like, you've said, Thor is the Thor Ragnarok, so I assume you don't really think he's going to show up in, Homecoming or anything.
No. Thor's staying home until that movie.
Sure. So, do we see any Hulk at all until, the Avengers again?
Yeah, I don't know when the fuck the Hulk would come back. I guess the Hulk will come back in Infinity War. I haven't really thought about it.
Yeah.
I
mean, there is the possibility he just leaves. We never see him again.
I know we do, because I know that I have seen I've seen captions of the Hulk in Endgame, so I know he's in Endgame at least.
Okay.
It's probably the only one that I know for sure. Spider-Man as well. I said it a long time ago, but I guess I should say it again. I do know, spoiler alert, if you're watching these along with me for some reason, that Spider-Man dies. He's the only one that I know dies.
Okay.
I know, half the cast dies or something in Infinity War.
Okay.
I feel that's a spoiler you really can't avoid. But, I don't know, I didn't know that, I don't know who else dies aside from Spider-Man. I just know that Spider-Man's gonna die. That's unavoidable.
Okay.
But, yeah, I've already talked about that in other reactions. I thought that was the first thing I said for the MCU.
Mm.
But yeah, for how he's going to come back, I don't know if he's going to come back in Infinity War or if he's just going to come back in Endgame. Because I could legitimately see them not even having him be in Infinity War. But no, they wouldn't be able to. They would not be able to do that. But I don't know if he would come in as a sudden thing, or if he would establish himself in there as coming back, or if he would, show up as a, suddenly Hulk.
Yeah. I guess I should also ask, regardless of whether we see him or not, what do you think is going on with the Hulk, if anything? Is he just back to hiding out?
Yeah, I assumed he's just fuck it, I'm just done, and I just want to live by myself.
Okay.
And I assume he's going to come back as I realized I had to do the right thing and come back, and I saw something on the news, and I had to come back.
Okay, makes sense.
That's what I think's going to happen there. Anything else?
Did you like the Stan Lee cameo?
I don't give a crap about Stan Lee cameos.
Mm-hmm.
It's a cool thing they do, but I don't care about
Is
them.
it on your top 3 Stan Lee cameos?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's probably the best one.
I unironically think it's, at this point, it's in my top 3. Because he doesn't affect the plots, but it is so dour. The whole movie at that point is so dour until he comes in and does the Tony Stank thing.
Yeah. I definitely think that's my favorite. But I don't really care much about the Stan Lee cameos. They're whatever.
I bring it up mostly to antagonize you, of course.
Yeah.
Alright, so, after this, you're finishing up the S.H.I.E.L.D. season, and then...
Yes. Oh, yeah. So, after this, we're finishing up, we got 3 episodes left of S.H.I.E.L.D., then we're jumping into Inhumans, then we got a huge swath of Netflix shows before we do another movie. I'm going to mention this in the comments, that way everybody can see it, but just that way I'll mention it here too. The MCU slot is going to be put down to 2 a week instead of 3 a week. South Park has been doing so much better on the channel than the MCU is in terms of views.
It's wild.
And honestly, yeah, I was not expecting that. And it is a 22-minute show where we do the discussion immediately afterwards. So it is a lot easier to do South Park 3 a week, whereas with the MCU, I have been struggling and I feel like I've been drowning so much in trying to react to this and then take the time to do my notes and then do a discussion and then edit it and then put it up. And I do all the editing myself, so it's just been a nightmare trying to... I definitely 100% feel like the doing it 3 a week has been negatively impacting the content. And I've been doing 3 a week for a long time. I was even doing 4 a week at one point, and immediately when I tried to do 4 a week, I was like, oh, no, this is bad. This is affecting the content way too much.
Yeah.
Whereas 3 a week, I was like, I can get away with it. I could tell for a long time it was affecting the content, but nobody was really saying anything about it, so I was like, I know people would want 3 a week, and I can't really go back down to 2 a week now, so whatever. But you know what? Fuck it. I can. I am going back down to 2 a week. I want to be able to take the time and be able to have, even if it is half a week, I want half a week to be able to rewatch the episode and take my notes and really think about it, because I've been skipping so much and my discussions have been getting shorter and shorter and shorter, and I don't want that. So, that's what's happening. MCU is going down to 2 a week. South Park is going up to 3 a week. That's it for this reaction, discussion, everything. See you guys for the rest of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Then I'll see you for Inhumans and all that stuff. Till then, get the fuck out of here. And go check out his channel. It's Thermite Kitty or Dynamite Neko. I'm unsure.
It's one of the two.
Check it out. Go find it.